All right, everyone. So we're back from lunch. Well, we're back from lunch. They're, as you can tell, still slowly working their way in. I spent my lunch going over a bunch of legal documents I got from the lawyers of Almost Park. So I can't get into them because I know my lawyer would get it boot deep in my my glutes if I were to discuss anything. But I'm going to say one little tidbit I have to say because it's just hilarious. So anyone who's watched my video, if you haven't watched my video of me getting arrested in Almost Park, you can look at the Bateau's Eyes channel. He has really good video of it. Or I have my video I took of it when I was being arrested from my first person view of my camera before they bounced it off a telephone pole. But I was open carrying in this little town of Almost Park outside of San Antonio. And it was, I've open carried how many times before then. And, I was made aware of it by a guy named Jack Miller, who got detained one time at gunpoint for holding a sign up on public property, criticizing the police. So I'm just kind of like, I figured, okay, maybe this guy's got history with the police department, but still, that's not cool. Then another time, him and some other people were open carrying. One person, I believe, was actually a prohibited person, if I'm not mistaken, but he had a training rifle, so it wasn't a real firearm, so it was legal. And cops came out right away, pulled firearms on him, and detained them, let them go. Hey, Jim, how can I get a hold of your information? TextVet, if you're on YouTube, I'm not YouTube, Facebook, you can look me up on Facebook. It's James Everard, Everard, out of Killeen, Texas. Probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. But I can really put my phone number and stuff out on here because I already get enough spam calls from people trying to get me to refinance my mortgage as it is. But anyway, so I got a hold of some of the guys out there who were they're more of First Amendment auditors, and me and CJ from Open Carry Texas, we're more Second Amendment guys. And I've never really done auditing too much before. I just kind of did a lot of open carry stuff. And I've worked in a couple of these smaller towns before, and for the most part, never had an issue with police. I've had a few times where they kind of puffed up a little bit, and then we had some very logical debate, and everything got worked out, and we came to an agreement. And with Almost Park, we had sent them, multiple emails to chief of police, their mayor, city council, city manager, and tried to do the right thing and use words to express what was going on, because they had made a city ordinance making it unlawful to carry a loaded rifle or shotgun in city limits. And obviously that goes against state law, and it's cities, municipalities can't create any criminal law that goes greater than that of the state. So we obviously kind of worked it out as best as we could, and we didn't get a lot of information back until CJ finally called the chief of police, and he, even though rather rudely, but affirmed that they would follow state law. Text name is James, common spelling, last name is Everard. Just think Everhard, but no H. Yeah, I got a lot of crap for that when I was in high school. I'm out of Killeen, Texas. It's Killeen, aka Killtown. Yeah, you can look me up on there. Got this ugly mug, you can't miss it. So we assumed everything was going to be fine. They said they're going to be abiding by state law, and okay, well, cool. We've had that through a lot of chiefs of police in the past in town saying that, hey, we made a mistake. Obviously it got out, so we're going to make corrective actions with the training of the officers and make sure it doesn't happen again. So we wanted to make sure that was actually going to be. So we said, hey, we'll travel down to San Antonio, because it's one of the little suburbs of San Antonio. Do a real simple, just, hey, walk through town real quick. Make sure there's not going to be cops hopping out like ninjas with guns out and doing crazy stuff. We've done it. I've done it dozens of times. Well, maybe a dozen or so times. I'm not dozens, but quite a few times. Never had problems. So we head down there, and I decided to go out because CJ's kind of well known for you know who he is. So I figured I'm not as well known. And me being a combat vet, especially in bigger towns, I tend to wear this concealable body armor just because I don't like big towns. And, you know, the guys I'm with keep telling me, hey, these guys are crazy. You don't understand. Because I'm kind of underplaying it like, hey, they might detain me. Then let me go at worst, which I haven't even had that happen in my life. Like, no, these cops are crazy. These cops are crazy. So what's the status of training? Still in the bill? Clayton Davis, no, training is not required for permitless carry. Basically, you pick up a gun, you carry it, but training is always recommended. Always recommend proper training, know what you're doing. If you don't, seek training, please. So went out there, and the second I was out there, had a cigarette. Within 5 minutes, cops showed up. Anyways, you can watch the video, get the remainder of what happened. But so their expert witness. So basically, cops came up, didn't talk to us, just parked like 100 so feet away, pulled the gun down, and screamed for me to put my gun down and get on the ground. No reason why. Then another cop showed up, said get on the ground, so on. You know, threatened with a taser. CJ got tasered. They handcuffed me, put me on my knees, and while I was handcuffed on my knees, being compliant, they face planted me in the concrete, knocked me out, bunch of dumb stuff. So their expert witness said the reason that they had done all that, handcuffed me, put me in the back of a cop car, and then moved me into or transported me to the police department, put me into a holding cell, and then put me in the shackles, was I was being lawfully detained, not arrested, detained while they could investigate to see if I had committed any crimes. The last I checked in Texas, I think it's a little far to hold someone at gunpoint, detain them, handcuff them, transport them to a police station, put them into a cell, and shackle them in a cell for a abbreviated detainment. But hey, whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm not the law scholar I thought I was. Hold on a sec, Texas Fed. I'll show you. Hold on. Can you see that? Text vet, that's me. Got the old killdozer in the background. It's not going to focus very well because I got it focused on my face, but that's what my profile looks like. Okay, was asking if there's keeping the free online training for the, yes. They not only did they keep the online training, they expanded it. The original one from the house was that they had to add a resource through DPS, so that way people have access to knowing all the legal information about where they can and not carry and so on. They expanded that, so not only do you have access to all the legal information, but now you will also have access to training, firearm safety, and things of that nature. Now, hold on for 1 second. CJ Grisham actually wants to hop on here, and I have no clue on how to send a invite, so hold up while I figure this out, because they're still getting kind of slow here. No problem. I'm working on it, CJ. Okay, first time. Chill out. Settings, nude, is that what I wanted? Guest. Well, that didn't work anything. Invite. There we go. Excuse me, people, for 1 second. Like I said, CJ Grisham from Open Carry, Texas wants to get down on this too. So I am sending him an invite, as he didn't invite me to his stream last night. but now he wants me to invite him on mine. But because he's my prison wife, I'll be nice and let him do it. But I just have to go through the steps because, you know, we're still waiting on everything. Okay, compose. I hate this stupid crap. Like I said, it's boring for a second. Like I said, just doing the waiting game now. Oh, here we go. Well, so far we got some lady in a green and some old dude, and they're only 12 minutes late. We're talking about these guys being lazy, but you know, what's the point of being a politician if you can't take a late lunch? Okay, yeah, CJ, I got the invite button. I sent it to your email, so you can figure it out now. Let's see. East Texas Boogaloo Bandicoots checking in. Oh, yeah, East Texas. Oh, man, I haven't been out there since damn Harvey happened. Rolling out in that Beaumont area, trying to do. I wasn't doing the search and rescue. I was a logistics guy. You know, all the small towns that didn't have electricity and they needed, you know, tetanus shots and stuff like that. We were the guys rolling around and communicating with all the small towns and saying, hey, you know, what do you need for supplies? What do you need for food? What do you need for vaccines, tetanus shots, medical aid? And whatever they needed, we'd go to our supply centers we had in Beaumont, load up when we had for temporary supplies, bring them out there for immediate needs, and then contact the guys out in Houston, let them know, hey, here's the contact person, here's what they need, here's everything they require, and then just make sure all the small towns were taken care of. So that was pretty good, working the logistics. And we also did forest security for some of the smaller towns that got hit pretty hard. Worked with the National Guard, Fire Department, Air Force, those kind of guys. So I've got plans for Almost Park this year. Going to do some scouting for sheepdog. I got to say one thing, careful with sheepdog. Sheepdog's not a bad guy, but he's a very forward person, so you got to be careful. Sometimes he tends to be a little outlandish. Good guy, but he's like a dog chasing his tail sometimes. Yeah, you're one of the small towns with no electricity. Yeah, I mean, no, don't worry about the help. I mean, we went out there and we just, you know, I the thing that killed me about those, I burned through like all of my savings. Like I burned through like all the 30 grand I had in savings. Got everything we had. I mean, all the spare money was like TAVEX suits, respirators. Because, you know, at first it was all about, you know, supplies, like trying to get water, food out there. Once that was topped off, everyone had it. Then we were going back and I was going through like every Walmart, every Sam's Club, trying to get bleach, germicide, mold killer. I mean, I was going all over the area just buying them out because it wasn't big around here in Central Texas. But I'd go in there and spend, you know, a couple $1,000s on mold killer. I was buying 1,000 TAVEX suits at a time. I was clearing out N95 masks before it was popular, you know, doing that stuff and then bringing it down to Beaumont. All these guys are looking at me. I'm just handing them out to whoever needs them. Like, dude, you know, you got like $20,000 in supplies and you're just handing them out. I'm like, and people need them. Whatever, just take it and shut up. Yeah, we're back, guy. Well, kind of. We're waiting for the Senate to get back. Late, of course. Well, I'm just going to call you Matt. As far as I know, Almost Park isn't doing in-person city council right now. I think they're doing everything on video conference. You can actually look, all their court is video conference because all of it's on is on YouTube. But I think everything is video conference. They might be doing some in person. I haven't really seen, honestly. Other than the second rally where I was adjacent to Almost Park, I have not gone in Almost Park since all this happened. It's just best for me. Other than when I went to get my firearm back and my camera and that stuff, I'm staying the hell out of there because obviously, because I'm pretty sure they hired private detectives because there's been a few times I've been outside and there'll be some dude standing across the street videotaping me with his phone, just staring at me, and I'll get up and you wave and I'll just be like, okay, yeah, I get it. You're trying to intimidate me, but I don't think you realize how many guns I have. It's like, just walk on my property. Let's see what happens. But yeah, they tried that crap with me for a while. Guy, is there a way to contact me? Looking for a YouTube page or any contact info for channel, email, or PO box. Like I was telling gentlemen before, you can hit me up on Facebook. If you instant message me on Facebook, if you want to get a hold of me, like to talk to me personally, I can put up, like, if you want to call me or something, that's not a big deal. I don't mind doing that. I'm not a celebrity. Well, I was an actor a long time ago, but I had a small TV show back in Wisconsin. It sucked. I was young, whatever. I did some radio back in the day. But yeah, if you want to hit me up on Facebook, if you got anything you want to contact me about, talk things of that nature directly other than little stuff on here, I'm on Facebook. It's James Everard. The light's horrible. James Everard out of Clean, Texas. It's EVERARD. I don't really do Twitter and stuff like that because I'm too freaking old and I'm way too impatient for stupidity. So Twitter, Twitch, whatever that stuff is, I do not do it. Figure out if CJ's trying to come in here or not. He said he was gonna, but I don't see him. Well, David Alvin Miller, I confirmed you. Yay. What the hell's going on with CJ now? Okay, Juan Gonzalez, I got you. Just trying to respond. Hey, buddy, I would love to be able to sit and discuss constitutional things. I'm here in San Antonio. I have gone out with Jack, and I do believe I met you at the Almost Park rally. Well, it was my first audit. Okay, well, that's cool. I'll respond to you here in a second. Let's talk after the live stream. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask about what's going on with everything. It's under Big Jim. Yeah, I am Jim and I am big. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Ask about what's going on with everything. Hey, CJ. Yeah, I am Jim and I am big. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Ask about what's going on with everything. Hey, CJ. Yeah, I am Jim and I am big. Oh, here we go.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. I need to turn you down a little bit in my headphone.
Do we have any echo out there in YouTube land, or is everything kosher with the volume? Now we got that 10-second delay, so.
Yeah.
Good now? Okay, cool. Yeah, I know when CJ first popped on, we had like a triple echo of craziness. So anyways, this is my hetero life mate, aka my prison wife, CJ Grisham. I call him my little hobbitier. He is the president of Open Carry Texas. He is probably one of the main reasons why we have as many pro-gun bills going on in the state of Texas as we have now. He is one of the main pushers that got most people, including myself, off my ass and onto my feet to start pushing for pro-gun rights in the state of Texas. He's been doing this for what, about 10 years now in Texas?
In Texas, about 8 years. Yeah, 2013 is when I started really going from advocate to activist. I've always been an advocate. I've been an NRA member forever, but 2013 is what changed me into an activist. So I guess when they say they're going to reconvene at 1:30, that means whenever the hell we want.
Remember, they're politicians. They don't get paid per hour, so.
I wonder if a judge sets a hearing for me at 1:30 and I show up whenever I want, if that's going to be okay.
Well, you can't, but the judge can show up whenever he wants. Remember, you're just a yokel.
Yeah, local yokel. That looks like Dawn Buckingham walking onto the floor there.
She's looking rough today. I think she had a long weekend or something. Usually she's pretty good, but today she just looks like I haven't had my coffee and I got to poop.
Yeah.
But normally I'd give an introduction to people, but I'm pretty sure everyone knows who CJ is. I'm the underling of this conversation. So,
well, we're gonna fix that. We're gonna get you going.
No, you know what? I've jumped 300 subscribers in the last week and a half, so I'm slowly getting there. As everyone keeps messaging me saying, "Hey, dude, you're the next big gun tuber," I'm like, I don't know about that, but I'm definitely the next big guy because I'm fat. I got to grow my beard back out. I just trimmed it down. I kept waking up with choking on my own beard, so I went into the bathroom and just buzzed it off. So let's see. Matt says Leon Valley was doing pocket knives and attacked me for a 10-inch. Leon, there's been a lot of change in Leon Valley with the new council members coming in, the chief of police finally getting fired. I think they had to give him a bunch of severance pay to get rid of him, but Leon Valley has definitely done a huge transformation to what it's been from like 3 years ago. We got some good council members. I know Bradshaw's one of them. The other ones, I can't remember the names. I'm horrible with names. But yeah, they've definitely pulled a near 180 compared to what they were. Almost Park, they're just too rich. Too much money. They just kind of, after everything happened, they just sucked back in and said, you know what, we're just going to keep doing what we do, keep our nose out of stuff, and everything will be fine. And well, we'll see how that goes. Oh, Savaggio didn't get anything? Good.
Yeah, he didn't get jack. Yeah, he got nothing. He was trying to extort him for money, and it didn't work.
Well, of course. I mean, it's Savaggio. He thinks he's the God King, the emperor of all. And don't be wrong, I did not like Mexican Padilla. I think he was a little prick, but even then, it didn't give him the right to do what he did to him.
Well, especially considering the fact that they let him in there. They initially let him in there. So, of course, he's going to argue. You know, the guy's like, you're not allowed back here. Well, they let me back here, you know. So what does he do? He just argues. And then Savaggio tries to grab him. And, you know, that's when he gets pissed off because don't touch me, man. You know, I'm not breaking any laws here. I went where I was allowed to go. And now you're telling me I'm not allowed to go. So who am I supposed to believe? And who are you, by the way? You know, it's not like he was in uniform.
Yeah, he's got a polo shirt on. I mean, I can put a polo shirt on and walk around like, I am the law. Yeah. Be polite to people. I don't understand why society nowadays, where everyone thinks they got to just be rude to people, just be polite. Like you'd be surprised. Like the reason growing up, I got so few tickets and I do so well with people is I'm nice. I'm a big giant dude, but I'm nice to people.
I'm nice until they're not nice to me.
Yeah, but you kind of got that Napoleon syndrome, though.
I do. Yes. Yeah. Or the Princess Bride. You know, the short dude with the bald head that thinks he knows everything. Actually,
I posted I finally figured out YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
Put a bunch of shorts in the other day. I got the one of those 3 DPS troopers trying to push me around to the Capitol, and then you showed up, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh crap, it's CJ," and they reversed what they're saying real quick.
You know what it is? It's because I'm so short. I'm like this, I'm eye level to most people's crotch. I mean, I'll freaking jack you up with both fists right there.
I guess they're really not trying to be on. You know what? It must have been. It's Monday. That's Italian food day in the commissary down there, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't been there in so long. I almost forgot.
I don't know. I know Tuesday is Taco Tuesday, and their tacos suck.
Hi. Hi there. You want to come and say hi to everybody?
No.
What?
Oh, hello, little boy. How are you? You're gonna show off your grandson for a second while we're waiting for.
No, Emily doesn't want him to be subject to scrutiny.
Oh, that's fine.
Anyways, these are Jim's crazy people, not my crazy people.
Is a Russian spy. No, he's cute. He's cute. So I've known CJ's family for a while now. I fix his kids' cars, and whenever they need something, Uncle Jim's to the rescue. So.
And whenever you need comedic relief, I'm there.
Where do you need what?
Comedic relief.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so we during the first stream we went over the suppressor freedom bill and the now here's a question. So we were going back and forth in the comment section earlier with 2262, the sanctuary bill. Now with felons, because we already know state law states that felons able to legally possess a firearm in their home after 5 years for protection of their persons and their homes as long as it's on their property. With the sanctuary bill, does that protect them against federal prosecution as long as they're not arrested by a federal officer?
So yes, as long as they're not arrested by a federal officer, and it would prevent. So what the bill essentially does is any federal law that is more strict than state law would essentially be nullified, and law enforcement that receives state funds, which is pretty much every law enforcement department that receives state funds, would not be allowed to help federal officials in their investigation of those criminal activities, supposed criminal activities.
Yeah, because the only way I'm logically seeing that is if they have like the U.S. Marshals, FBI, ATF, Department of Homeland Security, someone of that nature has an existing warrant that they're going in with local law enforcement to go in with that warrant to search or arrest a felon, and they find a firearm, and from that point they charge him with it because they're going in there for a non, something not to do with the firearm, but they go in there and they find one there. Is about the only time they're really going to charge him with it. Because, I mean, it's not very often you're going to have a federal officer going into your home unless it's for a pre-existing or an additional charge.
Right. Well, I mean, but they also could, if it's, this is the problem that we have with these laws is in Texas, you might be a felon and you're allowed to carry after 5 years in your home. And maybe you're taking a picture of the gun that you have in your home or you're cleaning it or something. And someone sends it to the feds, and the feds are like, wait a minute, this guy's a felon. And that's how they find out. And they literally just arrest him for felony possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. And that's the thing that sucks about federalism. And that's why I also recommend if you are a felon and you have met the state law requirements of 5 years for carrying a firearm and you're allowed to have one in your home, get one that was made in Texas, because then your attorney can undermine the federal oversight on that because it wasn't engaged in interstate commerce. So if you get a firearm that was made in Texas and sold in Texas, then you're free and clear of that because the federal firearms laws don't apply to guns that were not engaged in interstate commerce.
Well, here's another idea, because I'm looking at because just the federal transfer of a firearm to a felon in itself is also illegal. So just to sell someone one could be implications. Would it not be a better idea for, let's say, someone who is a felon, it's been more than 5 years, to simply manufacture their own firearm?
It would be better to do that, but also, I mean, you have to know that the person you're selling a firearm to is a felon before you can get found guilty under that. So that, you know, there's a mens rea element to selling a firearm. It's not a per se law where it doesn't matter. Like rape is a per se law. There's no, like, you have to intend to rape someone. If you rape someone, in other words, if you commit a sexual battery against someone and they didn't want it, whether you intended that to be a rape or not, it doesn't matter. It's a per se law. So this law of transferring a firearm there's a mens rea to it. They have to have intended to sell, and they have to have known that the person was a felon.
Well, I was just thinking for simplicity of, let's say there's someone who's watching who happens to have some non-violent felony charge from 1976 or something of that nature, and this passes. Said the one bill had already passed, just waiting for September 1st, and let's say they want to have one. So from that point, let's say they're finding it problematic to purchase a firearm, or let's say even they don't want to possibly put someone in the situation of getting them in trouble for purchasing a firearm. At that point, maybe just the purchasing of a ghost gun, trigger word, might be the best bet for being able to get one without necessarily putting someone in a situation of committing a crime.
Yeah, I think the best thing for someone to do,
make sure.
Yeah, I mean, if I were a felon, that's what I would do. I would just buy a milling machine and make my own firearms. That way, I mean, because you can't, that's the odd thing. Even in Texas, after 5 years, just because you can own a gun in your home, you still can't purchase one. So that's probably your best bet, because otherwise you've got to, hopefully, you know, somebody, you know, that'll sell you a gun. But then that person is being put in jeopardy. This is what I don't like about these laws. You know, people make mistakes. And if you're a felon, you commit a felony, and for the rest of your life, you know, unless you get a pardon, for the rest of your life, you don't have these rights. You have no right to defend yourself under the law. Now, you do have a right to defend yourself, but you don't have the ability under the law. And so what is a felon supposed to do? He's got to either put his friends in jeopardy of transferring a firearm to a felon by asking them to buy a gun for him, or just buying a gun from another person, not even doing a straw purchase, but just, hey, can I buy one of your guns? Because I can't buy one from an FFL, but I'm perfectly legal to own it here in Texas. It doesn't matter that, you know, so you've got to find someone willing to take that risk of felony transfer of a firearm to a known felon. Or guess what else you do? You go and you buy it on the black market or something like that. So, you know, but yet, you know, you were charged back in 1970 and now you're like 72 years old. It doesn't matter that you haven't committed a crime since 1970. You know, the law says you're still a bad person, even though you made that mistake 50 years ago when you were in your 20s.
Here's a question. Let's say you did commit a felony. What is the process of getting rid of that felony so you can legally possess a firearm again?
So here's the interesting part is there's actually a process in the law to regain your right to own a firearm. The problem is that back in 1998, I think it was, or since 1998, or maybe it was 2008. But anyway, since sometime several years ago, they've defunded the department that handles those requests. So there literally is no way to go through the ATF and the FBI to request that you get your rights reinstated, because that office is not funded anymore. It exists in theory. It's supposed to be there, but there's no money for it to operate. And so the only option you have is if it's a state felony, because this is also what people don't realize. It's not necessarily felonies that prevent you from keeping and bearing. The law says, the federal law is any crime that you are convicted of that results in more than 1 year in prison is what is a disqualifier. So if it's a misdemeanor that the minimum charge is 15 months or something, well, that would also qualify. Now, most misdemeanors, if you notice, at least here in the state of Texas, a Class A misdemeanor is up to a year in prison, up to a year. But if it was more than a year, then it would be you'd be, even if it was a misdemeanor, then you would be subject to the law. So it's not even, it's kind of weird because most crimes that you're subject to more than a year in prison are felonies. But the law doesn't say felonies. It doesn't say if you're convicted of a felony. It says if you're convicted of any criminal act that has a more than a 1-year sentence, then you're prohibited from carrying a firearm. And so if it's a federal crime that you're convicted of, you have to get essentially a pardon by the president. If it's a state felony or a state crime that's punishable by more than a year in jail, then you have to get, well, there's actually a better process here in Texas. State felonies and state crimes over a year are a little easier to get your rights reinstated on. Really, you just got to wait 5 years in Texas. But if you want that felony removed for the purposes of felony or for federal law purposes, then you can either get an expungement or after a certain amount of time, you can go through, hire an attorney. This is kind of what I want to do. This is what I want to help in Texas, is help state felons or state criminals that are prohibited persons because they've been convicted of state level crimes, help them get their rights reinstated. The federal thing is nearly impossible. You've got to get essentially pardoned by the president if you want to have your rights reinstated.
Okay, so in Texas, pretty much you just need to get an expungement and then get said paperwork and sent it off to NICS and all them saying, hey, look, it's expunged, I can buy guns again.
Right. Yeah. There's a process you've got to go through. You've got to be able to prove that you're no longer a threat. Obviously, as soon as you serve your time, you can't go and try to apply for that because there hasn't been enough time to prove that you've been rehabilitated. But I'll take any of those cases to try and help people get rehabilitated and get their rights back. I don't think felons, I think once you serve your time, that's it. It's over. You should get all your rights reinstated. That's it.
No, absolutely. Now, here's another question, because I read through the Suppressor Freedom Bill.
Yeah.
And the fact that your experience in law is much better than mine at this point. Now, it's a rather short bill, and it seems to be pretty straightforward, but I wanted to get your opinion on it. As the way the bill is written now, would it be legal for people to manufacture their own suppressors in the state of Texas as long as it's marked made in Texas?
I believe so. I'm going to look up the bill right now and just make sure that I'm not speaking out of my butt here. But I believe that the text is just if it's made here in Texas. I don't know that it's got to go through an actual person. I'm going to look here right now.
Yeah, because as I looked there myself, I didn't see anything about commercial or anything transfer.
Yeah, I think if you make your own, that's fine as well.
Yeah, because I know it's the requirement. It has to be stamped made in Texas, and I always tell people good to serialize it, but it looks like it basically makes them like accessories versus a serialized, something you require a background check for. My big issue looking at is whether or not people who have an actual FFL dealers will be able to sell them in the same manner, seeing the fact that the ATF still regulates their business.
Yeah, and the bill itself, it says specifically, a firearm suppressor that is manufactured in this state and remains in this state is not subject to federal law or federal regulations, including registration, under the authority of the United States Congress to regulate interstate commerce. A basic material from which a firearm suppressor is manufactured in this state, including unmachined steel, is not a firearm suppressor and is not subject to federal regulation. So it doesn't say anywhere in here, a firearm suppressor manufactured and sold in the state must have the words made in Texas clearly stamped on it. So if you are going to make your own, you do need to put somewhere on that suppressor that's made in Texas. That's one of the requirements here. And let's see. A written notification to the Attorney General by a United States citizen who resides in this state of the citizen's intent to manufacture a firearm suppressor. The Attorney General shall seek a declaratory judgment from a federal district court in the state that Section 2. Okay, so that's just essentially telling the Attorney General. So let me continue reading here.
Sorry, while you're reading, I'm going to go through the comments, see if we missed anything cool. Let's see. Norm from Texas. They're getting their after lunch nap. Yeah, it seems they probably got a little bit of the itis from the cafeteria food, which not only is it overpriced, not very good tasting, but it will give you the itis down there. I think they put some melatonin, crush it up, and put it in whatever they serve down there, because every time I ate down there, I always got super tired. Maybe it's the bland colored walls being stuck in the basement of the Capitol.
Yeah. Okay. I just read the whole bill.
It's easy, isn't it?
Yeah. You can make your own. You just got to make sure you've got that made in Texas. Wait, was that what it said, or manufactured? Yeah. Made in Texas has to be clearly stamped on it.
Maria, you say you got your LTC 2 weeks ago. Believe it or not, it is not worthless. There are some benefits to having a license to carry stuff. One, if you want to purchase a firearm, you still have to fill out the form, your front page, sign, date in the back, but you don't have to worry about doing the NICS background check. You just fill it out. They take it, they put it away. You hand them your credit card or your cash, whatever you pay, you walk out the door with the gun. Because when you have an LTC in the state of Texas, that is your pre-authorized background check for a firearm. So you can buy anything you want, everything from a 22 pistol to a Barrett 50 caliber, semi-automatic rifle. Take it, walk right out. So that's a good one. Plus, if you want to travel like me, I'm keeping my LTC because I still do a lot of traveling with family. I got to go through Nebraska and a few different places, and those are states that don't necessarily have all the freedoms that hopefully we're going to get here today. So I can maintain having the ability to share my license with other states. So it's good to have.
I don't understand why the left is opposed to the suppressor bill. It makes no sense to me. It was an 18-13 vote in the Senate on party lines. I cannot find a single rational argument against a firearm suppressor, except that they think it's like, in the movies where all you hear is
a couple of mine are like that, CJ.
Well,
but I got to use super slow, fat rounds that are useless past 100 freaking meters.
Yeah, but see, with those rounds, I can just catch them in midair and beam them back at you.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe if you got one of those super high speed.
You're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 792.
Thank you, members. Under current code of municipal police departments, police officers and dispatchers are restricted to working 4-hour work weeks with 8-hour shifts exclusively, with the exception of certain extenuating circumstances. However, in 2007, HB 1968 created the ability for police officers to opt out of the 40-hour work week and to adopt an alternative work schedule. However, dispatchers of a municipal police department who were classified as first responders and work as a team with police officers were not allowed the same ability to adopt the similar work schedule. HB 792 corrects this discrepancy by simply allowing a municipality to hold a vote to adopt an alternative work schedule for the police department's dispatchers in an identical process to the police officers with whom they work, promoting the synchronization of their work schedules. If the majority of the dispatchers from that department vote in favor of adopting this schedule, they'll have the ability to do so and can work concurrent hours with their respective officers. I move suspension, Mr. President.
Chair Burwell moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 792. Is there an objection?
So we might get a suspension on 1927 if that's what they're doing right now.
House Bill 792. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 792, relating to the authority of certain municipalities to use an alternate work.
Because this just came out of conference committee too.
Chair Burwell, you're recognized for a motion.
Move passage to third reading, Mr. President.
Chair Burwell moves passage to third reading. Is there an objection? Hearing none. House Bill 792 moves to third reading. Senator Burwell, you are now recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved, Mr. President.
Senator Burwell moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Did you hear what he just did?
Blanco,
He
Buckingham,
requested a suspension of the constitutional 3-day rule. Apparently the Senate can just waive the Constitution.
Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 792, relating to the authority of certain municipalities to use an alternate work schedule for police dispatchers.
Sarah Burwell, you're recognized for a motion.
Move final passage, Mr. President.
Sarah Burwell moves final passage. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Buckingham.
Having 30 ayes and no nays, House Bill 792 is finally passed.
Thank you, Mr. President, members.
Yeah, CJ, they've been doing that for every bill today. But,
Oh, I know.
with what Magenta said, yeah, if it gets signed this week, it will go into effect September 1st of this year. So
Right.
no pimps walking around with their stable hose open carrying quite yet.
Really, once it passes the Senate, it goes into effect September 1st. The only way it would stop is if Governor Abbott vetoes it.
You're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 2675.
Dang it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, recent studies have found that a victim's chances
January
of
1st.
survival or of being killed by their abuser are far less likely if the individual has access to self-protection and a firearm. This is the impetus behind this bill to ensure that no one who is at an increased risk of violence will have to endure a prolonged period of waiting to receive a license to carry, which oftentimes is essential to their safety and security. This bill allows for those individuals with an increased risk of violence to receive an expedited CHL. Person can receive the increased risk designation if they are a member of their family or a victim of sexual assault or stalking. An individual is eligible if they or their family are protected under a restraining order or a temporary ex parte order. The person may also qualify to participate in the address confidentiality program for sexual assault, stalking, or human trafficking. This legislation is the end result of the commendable effort of Representative Guillen. I hope the body will consider it favorably, and I move suspension, Mr. President.
Senator Bradwell moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 2675. Is there an objection? Chair is none. The rules are suspended. The chair lays out on second reading House Bill 2675. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 2675 relating to a license to carry a handgun for a person who is in increased risk of becoming a victim of violence.
Senator Bradwell, you're recognized for a motion.
Move passes the third reading, Mr. President.
Senator Bradwell moves passage to third reading. Is there an objection? Chair is none. House Bill 2675 is passed to third reading. Senator Bradwell, you're now recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved, Mr. President.
Senator Bradwell moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Gardwell, Blanco, Buckingham, Campbell, Creighton, Eckhart.
There being 27 ayes and 3 nays, the 3-day rule is
Three
suspended.
people voted against that?
Reading and final passage. House Bill 2675. Secretary will read the
I want to know
caption.
who those 3 people were.
To a license to carry a handgun for a person who's at increased risk of becoming a victim of violence.
Senator Bradwell, you're recognized for a motion.
Move final passage, Mr. President.
Senator Bradwell moves final passage on House Bill 2675. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Gardwell, Blanco, Buckingham, Campbell, Creighton, Eckhart.
There being 27 ayes and 3 nays, House Bill 2675 is finally passed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members.
Well, 1927.
Wow.
But, that bill is basically going to be like, hey, well.
Let me tell you something though. You heard that bill that just passed, right? It's allowing.
You're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business. Take up and consider House Bill 3416.
Okay, that was. But by the way, that was a Democrat bill. That was a Democrat bill.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Let's see what this one's about. If it's not important, we'll pause it.
I'd like to move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business, take up and consider House Bill 3416. Members, House Bill 3416 is the House companion to my Senate Bill 1599, which simply requires a temporary placement service to give a fair notice to the uniquely skilled workers throughout the oil and gas industry for their liability coverage.
You know, guys, it's a bill to go with the House.
Yeah, that one's
Yeah.
about insurance
Used to
coverage
have this-
anyway. But yeah, that 2675 that does the expedited LTC if you're a victim of violence or you've got a protection order against another person who's been violent against you is a Democrat bill. Representative Guillen is a Democrat. He was also one of the co-sponsors of the constitutional carry bill, 1927.
Yeah, but I'm surprised this session how many Democrats are actually voting pro on this stuff. Like you look at how many co-sponsored 1927. It's like, we actually got a couple cool Democrats.
You know what I hope? I hope that what this does is it pisses off the left. And those seven Democrat districts that voted for these Democrats that voted in favor of the 1927. What I'm hoping is that the left primaries them with uber left-wing people so that it gives a better chance for a Republican to take over that seat. Although I'd rather just keep those people in because at least at least they're rational. There are very few rational Democrats, but there they are.
Yeah, and I know one down in Beaumont. He's a judge, Judge Baylor, one of the greatest people in politics I ever met. And he's a Democrat, but he's pro-gun, he's pro-liberty. He's like, when I was down there, he said, you get in trouble with anything, you give me a call. I got you covered. And there's
all right, here we go. They're going to do a new bill here.
Let's see what we got going on.
Mr. Doorkeeper,
Mr. President, there is a message from the House.
admit the messenger.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Don't
Mr.
shoot the
President, I am
messenger.
directed by the House to inform the Senate that the House taking the following action. The House passed the following measures. SB2 by Hancock relating to the governors of the Public Utility Commission of Texas, the Office of Public Utility Counsel, and an independent organization certified to manage a power region. SB3 by Shorten related to
I love that when they just cut them off.
Enough talking. Whack.
Hey, there's Dawn Buckingham down there.
Yeah, she is. I wish they had that giant Texas-sized gavel like they got in the house.
Yeah.
You almost need two hands like a samurai sword.
Whack.
Every time he hits the thing, I'm waiting for the head to break off and whack someone in the head. Damn it. I guess we should have made this out of aluminum or something.
Oh, was that it? Okay.
Oh, that was anticlimactic, I suppose. Much like my first marriage. Yes, John Connors. By the way, Skynet is after you. Be careful. LTC will still have value to travel and for purchasing of firearms. The greatest part is you don't have to redo the class like you did years ago. The price to renew is super cheap. Just get your little renewal thing in the mail. You send them a check. You get a new little one. Hey, look, I got my license to carry. It's like, what, $25 every 5 years or something? I'm a veteran, though, so my prices may be different than yours. But
No,
yeah,
it's going to be, isn't it going to be free? Wasn't there a bill that made it free?
I know there was a bill speaking about it. I don't know whether or not it made it through. There's so much going on, and I'm trying to deal with homeschooling kids and this stuff and trying to get stuff together for going out and doing new range videos, which, if anyone watching, the reason I haven't done a new range video is my new private range is next to a small river that is a flood zone and is currently under about 10 feet of water. So I got to wait for it to dry out and not become a mud plain before I can do another shooting video. So once that happens, I got some cool new guns to show off. So.
Chair Miles, you recognize for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on committee substitute House Bill
Yeah, this
981.
isn't it either.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, at this time, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take up and consider the committee substitute for House Bill 981. The committee substitute for House Bill 981 creates a study conducted by the Texas Higher Education.
Nope.
Yeah, let's see what this thing is. If Miles is in on it, it's probably dumb.
Yeah, every now and then it's something fun and he gets to say some stupid stuff and I get to put a funny banner, but it's like, oh, we're going to do a study on higher education. No, I'm good. It's just basically a whole bunch of studies to waste money to pay someone that they know to do a study on something so they can grease the wheels. Okay, Maria, so are you worried about people carrying and not familiar with firearms and getting negligent discharges? As
No.
someone who helped teach license to carry courses for years, you don't get much of training with a license to carry. It's basically, on average, a half an hour of shooting where we teach you how to hold a gun, how to shoot a gun for about 10 minutes, and make sure you can shoot 50 rounds without shooting yourself and being able to play on a human-sized target. That's it. Nothing more. Then you get some very basic training in classroom where you play with a plastic gun and we tell you, hey, don't shoot yourself. Hey, don't shoot yourself. Hey, you don't shoot yourself. If anything, I tell everyone, if you are a new shooter, go out and find training. I help a friend of mine I was in the Army with who was a deacon at a church. I give him and his church members free training whenever they need it. If there's someone locally who doesn't know how to do stuff, I will go to the range and teach them. Always find people either paid for it or find someone who knows how to shoot and say, hey, can you teach me how to shoot? Can you teach me weapons training? Can you teach me how to safely draw from the holster? Always seek to have better understanding, fundamentals, and safe training on how to carry a firearm. That's the best thing you can do as a responsible gun owner.
And I'll tell you why I'm not worried about negligent discharges is because people own guns already. They carry them on their property. They carry them on their farms. They carry them in their vehicles. They've done so without a license. They've carried rifles for years without licenses. I just think that Texans are Judas Zaffarini, so it's probably not a good bill either. But I just think that Texans are very responsible. They're going to understand how to use their guns before they, go walking around with them. And you don't have to worry about a negligent discharge as long as you're keeping your damn gun in your holster.
Yeah, and the best place if you want to know where to get training, just go to any local gun range. Go to any local gun range and just be like, hey, I want to increase my level of training. And a lot of times they'll know people, like individuals that will teach you, or they'll have classes. Like me, I actually trying to get some time and money so I can go to some professional shooting classes for long range stuff. I need to, kind of re-up my skills for tactical shooting. So I'm going to take some shooting clinics, take like weekend or week-long courses to go out there and get my skills back, because it's been a while since I was in the military. So yeah, it's always good to just go out there and do it. And even if you just have a friend, like you got a buddy who shoots a lot, or someone that was prior service, whatever, who isn't a dingleberry, just say, hey, can you take me to the range and I'll buy you lunch. And they'll teach you the stuff you need to know. And when it comes to finding an LTC class, Google, good place to go. Look up classes in your area.
Go see Jim.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're in the area around here, I know a couple good instructors. The class I used to work for is pretty good. I know guys who do one-on-one training in the area, who travels all around like the Temple, Waco, Killeen, anywhere in this area who'll do it. So just seek out and ask people, hey, even, I don't know if Yelp's a thing anymore, but just look at reviews. Yeah, I'm speaking on people who just want to carry because it's constitutional. There's always going to be some dingleberry who's like, hey, I can carry a gun, so I'm going to carry a gun.
Right here. That's me.
Yeah, but how many people are just going to be like, oh, well, I have no training, I'm 21 years old. But then you got to look at how many people are going to go out and at that point make the investment of buying a firearm, buying the ammunition, going through the background check, buying a holster, and doing whatever it takes, and then be like, because usually when people go through the commitment of buying a firearm, they'll at least be responsible enough to get training.
Extends the authority to use municipal hotel occupancy tax to Carrizo Springs.
Yeah, that's a hotel occupancy tax. Here's my prediction.
2 years, Mr. Regular order of business. Is there an objection?
Go ahead.
Yeah, my prediction is that the training that is going to be offered by LTC instructors, look, if you're an LTC instructor and you want to survive in a post-licensing era, then what you need to do is provide good training. I don't think anybody will agree that the LTC course is good training. And so what I think is going to happen is, instead of people going out there to get LTC trained, they're going to actually get good, valuable self-defense training in the home, training from a vehicle, things like that, training in an area where there's a lot of people. So I think the training, if you want to survive as an instructor, then you've got to change the kind of training that you offer, get away from the crappy ass, useless LTC training requirements, and actually provide real self-defense training. And people are going to look for that. That's what I've seen in other states that have passed this, is they're going to look for actual, relatable, and usable training, unlike what the LTC does. Well, so they're going to be better trained, I think. I think they'll be better trained than under the LTC program.
Yeah, for every class I've ever taught, every time there's a minimum of at least one student that comes up going, hey, do you offer a higher end class? Do you offer like a level 2 class that teaches more shooting? And we always tell them, yeah, if you want to, you can set it up. And the problem is, though, is usually when they do it, we didn't have a class set up devoted specifically for that, but we do individual training time. So at this point, with the more people who are going to be going towards carrying without a license, bubbly water, the instructors will be smart, and they'll start having these classes that students were asking for already. And instead of doing, let's say, a class every weekend, they'll do an LTC class one weekend and then an advanced shooter class the next weekend. which will start from square one kind of anyways, basic training. But instead of having to have 8 hours where you got 6 hours of classroom, 2 hours of shooting, you can do 6 hour, a shorter class of just shooting, start off with weapons training, draw from holster, being able to, I don't know about shoot from cars. That might be a little bit more advanced than that one, but at least how to draw from your holster, safely put back in your holster, the things that people need to know when they go to carry, or even, how to stow properly in your purse, how to stow properly here and there, and things of that nature, things that people should be getting instead of having their 6 or so hours of mandatory in-class, blah, blah, blah training. As Timothy said, yeah, it's already illegal to carry a rifle. Most people don't. I still carry a rifle. That's only when I'm doing demonstrational stuff. The guys at Walmart tend to get a little apprehensive when I walk around with my Vepr 12 gauge semi-automatic shotgun on my back. Yeah, whatever. Okay, Israel Garcia, I carry, I don't have a concealed permit, but I feel since I served in the Army, well, I mean, yeah, and I've heard that from a lot of people who, and I always tell them, if you carry and you don't have a license, number one, be safe. Number two, don't get caught. I always tell them, seek getting a license, look into doing it. Well, obviously, if this being passed, not going to be that big of a deal, so it's going to be great. You don't have to worry about getting a license, and if you already know what you're doing, which even with the LTC course, if you pass the pistol marksmanship within, I think, what is it, 6 months or a year? It's been a minute since I had to do it, and you brought in your record showing you did. You don't even have to do the shooting portion for Texas LTC, anyways. So if you're any branch and you bring that in, yep, here you go. You just do the class, get signed off, upload it to the documents online, and you get your license in, anywhere from 2 weeks to a month. So I'm not saying you're wrong, Garcia. Legally, you're not correct, but I'm not going to say you're wrong. I just say be careful in not getting caught. Yeah, let's see what they got going on over here.
That's not it.
Productive.
7.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business and take up and consider at this time House Bill 4107. Members, this requires that common carriers obtain written authorization, common carrier being pipelines.
Yeah, never mind.
So here's my thoughts on 2247. I'm not going to be upset if it passes or doesn't pass because as a fiscal, I'm a libertarian, but I'm a fiscal conservative. I think that even though the state does provide free licensing for some things, it's not necessarily a plastic card like the LTC is, and it doesn't come with additional types of benefits and things like that. I think that there's nothing wrong with a small fee for an LTC. I don't think it should be $40, but I also don't think it should be free because that means that someone else is paying for my little plastic card. And I think that it especially now I think it should be free if all you have is licensed carry, like we do now. But when you've got constitutional carry or unlicensed carry, if you choose to get a license, I don't have a problem with somebody paying a small fee only to the extent of what it actually costs to obtain that license, because otherwise it's coming out of the budget. And I think so, the cost should be no more than $20 because if I can get a license in Alabama for $10, but it's a paper license, or $20 for a plastic card license, then I think Texas can afford to do it for $20 as well. And that just pays for the time, the FBI background check, because that does cost the state money every time they run a background check, the printing costs, the material costs. So I don't have a problem with services being charged that the government provides, as long as it's a discretionary service and not a mandatory one like mandatory licensing.
right, sorry about that. Reading all the comments. We're trying to catch up. They're rolling through. So Marius, you're saying she was talking to Jim. What were you asking me about? Let me try to scroll up, see what I missed here. I was trying to fix my chair because my butt was falling asleep. So
this, well, that just got voted on by the Senate. Man, they're quick. They already updated that bill they just did on the TLO site.
nice. And do I get any Karens coming for my shotgun?
I don't know, Beachcomber, I don't know how you can be pro-gun and pro-2A and be against unlicensed carry. Please help me explain that. I don't understand that. I really don't. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I don't understand how someone can be pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment, but against a constitutional carry bill. 2030 is the one they're on now. See what this one is. This one is. Oh, Texas Higher Education.
Yeah, they put at the beginning what it was before they started talking about it. That'd be nice, but as Marius was talking real quick about the shotgun, no, but I have had a couple times in Austin where people see me carrying a rifle or something and then scream he's got a machine gun and then run off in a crazy, extra belligerent manner. So it's pretty funny. Were you there for that one, CG, when the Asian lady yelled he's got a machine gun and ran off like I was going to go into a mass shooting?
I'm sorry, say it again. I was listening to what they were doing.
Oh, it was the one of the MDA things they had to stop school shootings at the wasn't the Capitol. It was the City Council building in Austin. And then it was an old Asian lady walked by me, said she pointed, screamed, he's got a machine gun.
Oh, yes. That was down near the City Council.
That was also the same day that I saved that dude on a bicycle from being run over by the 18-wheeler that hopped the curb.
So that last bill that they heard before this one, that 4107, HB 4107 requires that before anyone enter onto someone else's property for the purposes of a survey, before doing eminent domain, that they have to give written notice. They can't just walk onto the property. And then, and they must provide an indemnification provision in favor of the property owner with respect to damages. So if they do any damages while doing the survey to the property, that they have to pay for it. That's actually a pretty good bill. No wonder Cole Korst was sponsoring it.
I know one thing. If I got any of those security salesman guys come on my property again, looking at I got signs that say no soliciting, do not enter, trespassers will be shot. They keep coming on my property. I might actually shoot someone one of these damn days.
Yep.
Is there a high probability 1927 will be passed? Yes, there is a
100%.
I'd say 95. I always give 5% maybe for just the stupidity of idiots.
Actually, I've been telling everybody 99%. There's a 99% chance. I mean, obviously something can happen. I mean, a plane can crash into the Capitol.
Is there a list that creates a private list of prohibited persons?
The list of prohibited persons is any domestic violence and any prison term over 1 year that you've been convicted of. Any crime that results in a prison term over 1 year. So you don't really need a list. You just need to know that.
Or a list of the certain crimes. I basically watched your video and then shorthanded everything you wrote down and turned it into like 20 minutes. So
yeah. And under the unlicensed carry law, there are a few misdemeanors that count, such as assault, deadly conduct, terroristic threat, negligently firing a firearm in public, and carrying in a manner calculated to cause alarm. Yeah.
So if you do any of those things, and if you commit another crime, because they can't just ID you commit another crime, and they are able to look up using the background, and your background comes up as being convicted of those crimes, they can find in what's the system they use in Texas? I know in Wisconsin it's the Vine system. I'm not sure what they call it here in Texas, but they look it up in their database and they find that you've been committed of any of those crimes. At that point, you can be arrested for unlawful carry. That's about it.
Guy Actual says that there's a non-public list for street gang members that creates a list of members created only on circumstances. It needs to be abolished. I think that such a list should be public, because how do you know if you're on a list? I don't trust the government not to put me on a list. There's a case I read, or a case I was helping with last summer, and it was a motorcycle guy. He's a part of a veterans motorcycle group. Well, apparently there was a motorcycle group member that was killed, and this guy went to the funeral with a lot of other bikers as well. And the DPS drove through and put down the license plate, because I guess the guy that died was actually in a so-called motorcycle gang. And so they went and got the license plates of every motorcycle that was at this funeral, and then figured out who owns the motorcycle, who it was registered to, and put those people on the list. Well, this guy ended up being on that list, and he didn't know it until he had gotten pulled over for something. I can't remember what it was, and had a firearm. And so the case went up to the Texas Supreme Court and was ruled unconstitutional because, one, he wasn't given fair notice. This is a due process issue. He wasn't given notice that he was put on some list. He didn't have any ability to counter it or provide his side of any story or anything like that. And essentially, it was very capricious and arbitrary. So
yeah, people don't realize when it comes to for motorcycle clubs that there's different types of motorcycle clubs, because you have what's called an RC, which is a riding club, and those are like the non-criminal types. Those are just the guys who get a group of guys and they get permission from whatever the big R's, because you got to have permission from whoever your regional head group is, and they just want to ride. That's all they do. They don't do anything criminal. They just want to ride. And those include like the Christian biker clubs, the veteran biker clubs, any of those guys. And then you have the MCs, which are the motorcycle clubs. Those are usually a little bit more involved, and you got to pay taxes and stuff. But the majority, like 90, probably 95+% of them, have no involvement in criminal activity whatsoever.
Well, quite frankly, I think it violates
being in a criminal gang.
Yeah, I think it violates the First Amendment freedom of association anyway. I don't think your membership in a gang or anything should be a crime. I think your actions as a member of a gang is what should be criminalized, not your membership itself. I'm allowed. There's nothing in the First Amendment that says I can't associate with bad people. I should have the right, and I have the right to associate with bad people. Now, if I do bad things, that's what should be criminalized. What's that?
I said you're my friend, so
yeah.
Well, look, the effect of federal red flag laws would be on sanctuary states. Now, I put a video out, I believe Friday. A lot of people don't realize that we actually have red flag laws in Texas already. The Attorney General, or the Assistant Attorney General, whatever, of Austin, actually passed new ones he put out by decree, because of course you don't have to vote on it. In Travis County, if you get arrested and you want to get out on bond, they have the legal right at the moment to say that you have to turn in all of your firearms and there's a whole list of reasons they can give, which are basically any and everything. And at the very end says, even if you didn't fall underneath any of these reasons, we can decide that you have to turn your firearms in just because we say so. And if you don't agree to do so, they can keep you with and basically pull your bond away until your court date. So we already have semi-red flag laws as it is, and the way they're around it is they don't go to your house to collect them. They force you to go take your firearms, bring them to the police station, and then turn them in. So it's a little wrap around or reach around they're doing to try to screw people over. So we already got them in Texas, but of course there's already lawsuits being filed against Travis County, because that's an obviously blatant rip at the Second Amendment. Now, CJ, you want to explain better what exactly a third reading is, because my definition is probably pretty inept.
So what happens is the constitutional process of bills is that they have to have 3 readings. So the first reading is essentially when it's added to the journal or added to the chamber. So when it's filed, it gets filed and then it gets presented before the House, and then that's where it gets assigned to a committee. That's essentially the first reading. The second reading comes when it comes out of committee, and during second reading, generally a lot of amendments are added onto it, and some changes are made, and that's where the real debate happens, is in the second reading. So after the second reading, it's got to go to a third reading, which includes all the amendments that have already been previously approved, the House version or the committee versions and all that. And sometimes it's possible also for a third reading to have amendments, but not very often. Usually at that point, they've already had an opportunity to add amendments. And once it's passed on third reading, that's when it goes to, it's just a constitutional process. The first reading really it's nothing. It's just essentially entered into the record. So that representatives can see it for themselves. And then second reading is generally debate. Third reading can be debate, but generally that's when it passes to the other chamber.
Okay, so when a bill gets passed, let's say a House bill gets passed without amendments in the Senate, so going to the third reading, basically that's just a final reading before it gets moved to the governor?
Right. Yeah, because the second reading, and sometimes if it's a bill that is not controversial, they can immediately, after they go to second reading, kind of like what they're doing today, they've already hammered out a lot of these things. And so they'll do the second reading and then immediately try to suspend the rules, because there are rules, a 24-hour rule between second and third reading. And so they'll suspend those rules and just go ahead and pass it into third reading.
Okay, yeah, because that's pretty much what I was saying. I just want to make sure, because you know this stuff a little bit better than I do, so I'm not misquoting the fine people who are watching our live stream.
Stand by, I'll be right back.
Okay, someone's got to go take a pee. Yeah, excuse CJ, he's getting old and his bladder is getting smaller and more fray. How similar is HB 1927 to other states that have 2A carry and major differences? Well, every state's a little bit different. Some states are pretty much, we don't have any real laws other than, don't point your gun at people, don't do this, don't do that. Texas obviously is a little bit more restrictive because we have more crimes that if you commit that are misdemeanors that restrict you from carrying. You have to wait an additional 5 years after committing these crimes before you can carry again. So that's why we're not calling it a true constitutional carry bill. We're calling it a permitless carry bill. So it's not everything we wanted, but it's a lot better than what we had. Texas Code of Criminal Procedures, 61 criminal combination of criminal street gangs. Yeah, there, like I said, there is a database, and there's a lot of stuff. Like when we're looking through the little information stuff that gets put through the state for like what happened to me in CJ and Almost Park, I was very interested to find out all the times our names were brought up in, the activities that we did and how we're threats to society, and how we need to be viewed as domestic terrorists, and how police need to look out for us because how endangering we are to law enforcement, and how we should be, handled as extreme threats and things of that nature. So there's a lot of secret stuff that the state and law enforcement put out to only the state and law enforcement that we don't get to normally see. So yeah, and believe me, everyone's got a folder on them. So how's your PCJ? You feel 16 ounces lighter?
Oh, no. I just went to go check my mail. I wanted to see if mail came, but then Emily reminded me it's going to be certified, so they'll knock on the door.
They didn't even knock on the door for us. Our guys don't care. They just throw it on the wet ground and go, here you go.
Oh, really? They didn't knock on your door to sign it?
No, our mail carriers suck.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that happens. Of course, I get like 3 certified letters a week.
Maybe I should go check the mail then. I don't know. Our mail comes kind of late on Mondays anyway.
Well, I got my my damn mortgage company is constantly trying to get
me. Hey, this might be it.
Knock, knock, knock.
Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, I was about to say if it was it, Patrick would probably be out. Well,
he called Schwertner, so I thought they were going to bring up 1927. but he was just making a meeting announcement. I'm going to be really upset if they don't do anything today with it. Oh, here he goes.
Senator Schwartner.
Wait.
Stop teasing. Stop teasing.
Stop saying his name.
It's like my sophomore year girlfriend always teasing me. Teasing.
Okay, Schwartner's going back to his desk. He's... I can't tell what he's doing right now. He just grabbed something. He grabbed a microphone. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let's see if this is it. He's got a microphone and a piece of paper in his hand.
Oh, I should have got some of those little party popper things. Damn.
How many people you got watching right now?
173, 180.
Nice.
I had almost 300 earlier. And I got my first super chat. I was excited.
Oh, here we go.
Schwartner, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to suspend Senate Rule 1113 so that the Senate Committee on Administration can meet at 3 p.m. in the Betty King 2E.20 to certify the local and uncontested calendar.
Senator Schwartner moves suspension. Is there an objection? Chair is none. Rules are suspended.
Gosh darn it, Schwartner, stop teasing us.
Senator Blanco. Senator Blanco, we recognize for motion to suspend the regular order of business. Take and consider committee substitute House Bill 2382.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take up and consider at this time committee substitute for House Bill 2382.
What's this bill?
Senator Blanco moves suspension of the regular order of business to take up committee substitute House Bill 2382. Is there an objection? Chair is none. Rules are suspended. The chair lays out on second reading.
Relating to the operations and administration of the El Paso County Hospital District.
Nope. Well, that got me all freaking worked up for a second there. Like,
I know, man. I was getting all excited.
So he said, what, there's going to be a meeting at 2 something?
It's just to consider local and consent calendar stuff.
And I don't know. I'm the dude that just goes around and talks to people when they're at lunch, knocks on people's doors, and politely, with my giant stature, says, please consider this bill. That's all I was doing. I'm very good at mingling. I was like the guy they pay on cruise ships to keep the people happy. That's what my job was.
Nice.
Yeah, the guy says, hey, Schwartner, while you're up there, well, look like GOA, AJ, and a bunch of other people said they're supposed to be doing it today. So if they don't do it today, then...
Yeah, the word I got was it was today, too.
Yeah, that's what everyone's saying. So I don't know if they're going to do all these bills and then do it. But the way they're knocking these bills out, I mean, I think they counted the bills off earlier and had like 20 of them. And they knocked out like 15 since then. Because the little lady at the podium, she was just counting them off. And the stack's getting smaller, so unicorn heart and bunny farts ships prostitutes. I don't know. I mean, we're talking about like Russian mail order brides. I don't think they actually shipped, unless you consider like first class flights. I mean, if you really loosen the definition, I guess so.
What is that? I don't understand that. Ship's prostitute?
I don't know. It's question marks, so it's confusing to me as well. Beachcomber, CJ, you know what 1686 is?
Is that HB 1686? Let me look.
1686.
It is regulation of food production on a single-family residential lot by a municipality. Oh, essentially, it prevents municipalities from not letting people have gardens and creating their own food.
Yeah, it's like if I want to have a little carrot garden and some watermelons in the back, I mean,
yeah.
Oh, so I got an interesting offer you guys might get a joke at. So I got a friend of mine, I'm not going to mention his name because it's embarrassing. He says, "Hey man, your YouTube channel is getting kind of big." I'm like, "I don't know about big, but it's, it's getting views." He's like, "You ever thought about shooting like a dummy or like some kind of lifelike thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." He's like, "Yeah, but how lifelike can it be?" I'm like, kind of a weird question to pose. He's like, "Well, I got this really, really lifelike female doll. If you want it, you can have it. You can shoot it." And I'm like, "How lifelike is it?" He's like, "It's anatomically correct." I'm
oh
like,
my gosh.
Like, you try to give me your used sex doll to shoot at YouTube? And he's just like, "Well, I'm married now and I don't use it anymore, but it's really clean. And you can put it in any pose you want and it'll stand up on its own." I'm like, I'm pretty sure if I shoot a sex doll on YouTube that's completely anatomically correct, I will probably get kicked off the platform. He's like,
Hey,
"You
I'm
can
sure
put
Mom's
those
Demand
on
Action
it."
will have something to say about that.
Say what?
I'm sure Mom's Demand Action would have something to say about that too.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Oh, it's so misogynistic. These misogynistic gun rights
Put a
people.
zombie mask on it and some fake blood, it'd be okay. Damon Fickle, 2622 passed both House and Senate. Just waiting for the third reading. Then it will be going to the governor. So it has passed both. Yeah, 1686, especially for, I mean, if you live in an apartment complex and you have like a shared area, that's kind of something you got to figure out with your apartment complex. But like, if I have a house, I got a quarter acre, and if I got plenty of land past my pool and stuff, if I want to put, some composting out there and do a little vegetable garden and do some stuff like that, the city shouldn't be able to step in and be like, "No, you can't do that with your privacy fence on your own land." It's stupid. HOAs. HOAs are in theory a good idea, but in practice usually turn out horrible. If a white guy can do it, then any other. Donald Foster, same thing on the suppressor bill, passed the House, passed the Senate. No amendments added to it. It's just waiting for third reading, and then it'll be off to the senator. So yes, both sanctuary state and suppressor bills have been House to Senate, no amendments, party line vote as far as I know, and just waiting for third reading. So it's going to be the usual 24-hour hold, third reading, and then off to wheelchair Abbott to get signed and moved on. No problem, Donald. Are they taking a break or something? Looks like a whole lot of messing around.
I don't know what they're doing.
Waiting for Andy. Yeah, when he pops out, there's usually something big going on. So you got going on here for a second. You got the girlfriend screwing off in the corner.
Senator West, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business and on House Bill 3971.
Mr. Chairman and members, at this time I move to suspend the Senate regular order of business to take up and consider House Bill 3971. Mr. Chairman and members, this bill ensures that chief appraisers consider the effect of historic district restrictions when.
Nah. Okay, so someone wanted to know what's the difference between that guy shooting his load and me into it. Easy. I'm using bullets.
Oh my gosh, they did this audit up in New Hampshire that was requested by a Democrat candidate because she lost by just 24 votes. So she lost by 24 votes. So they did a hand recount of these electronic ballots. And the hand recount resulted in the Republicans gaining 300 more votes and her losing 99 votes. So she lost by an even greater number.
One of my old friends from Wisconsin, they're talking about how they're kind of looking into the voting stuff up there. And I don't want to get too far into it because I don't want this video to be pulled down. But they're saying how they found the article wrote of the 3 million plus votes in Wisconsin, they only found 27 that were fraudulent votes. So this article, and I'm going through it, and it turns out all 27 votes were all from the same area, which was this very upper class white area. So once I get towards the bottom of the article, and this is the same thing everyone keeps repeating up in Wisconsin. Oh, only found 27 votes, only 27 votes, only 27 votes. Well, it turns out that 27 votes was only from a test sample of 1,000 votes that they looked at. Well, you can't really say it's only 27 out of 3 million if you only looked at 1,000 votes. So it's like, yeah, if you want to do that numbers and 3 million divided by 1,000 times 27, and that's in a rich white area. You start moving into the more urban areas, then I got a feeling those numbers might be a little bit higher. But hey, whatever. They think all these people are like, yeah, it's what I can't say on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I don't want to get this shut off. So I'm praying for HB1927 to get passed. Don't worry, it's most likely to get passed. It's just when they will bring the freaking bill up. So hopefully they'll do it. Suppressor bill is, and if made any bought in Texas, it's legal to own. Yes. If you manufacture or buy a suppressor that is made in Texas and stamped, or by stamped, I'm sure they mean engraved. Stamped,
yeah, probably engraved or somehow etched.
I've been wanting to get a CO2 laser for a while, but I don't know how well that's going to do on stainless and Inconel. So I'm probably just going to get one of those mini CNC ones, literally just for that. One of those like $300 ones just to do a serial number. Might have to do like 20 little passes, but bam, made in Texas, and then whatever little serial number I come up with, like, done. And then I can Cerakote it. And the cool part, though, is you don't have to have the machinery. You just say, hey, Jim, I need one for this. Gotcha. I'll sell it to you for the price of the stuff I had to put into it. So I know titanium tube is expensive. Things will get very interesting in Arizona. Concludes something crazy. Blue stick, yeah, but to be able to etch into, like, that'll work well with aluminum, but for stainless steel, titanium, Inconel, those metals, the wattage you need for a laser, you're looking at like 3,000 plus watt minimum, or you got to get into either a large CO2 laser or a fiber laser, and those are considerably more expensive. So those will not work with any of the 3D setups. Usually you have to go with a some kind of cutting jig where you can do it. It's fine cuts. Basically, you have to go back and do fine cut, blow it off, fine cut, blow it off to work your way to the minimum depth. You can do electro etching. I do that for a lot of stuff. I usually just use a car battery. Then it's salt and vinegar, and then some Q-tips and some gator clips. Super easy. I do that for a lot of little stuff. Then I just make the stencils on my wife's Cricut. Man, I'm telling you one thing. You guys want to make some cool stuff? Buy a Cricut. And I do all kinds of stuff.
I want a Cricut. I bought one after I bought one for Black Friday last year, and it ended up being a scam. And so now I got to go get another one because it was a pretty good deal. I guess I should have known that, but I'm trying to get a Cricut.
Yeah, well, like I said, they're not bad, but acid etching is the same thing as like I said, electro etching. Just using, it's not really acid, it's technically the base, but it just uses electricity, and then you add some salt to some vinegar, you mix it up real good, put the Q-tip in it. I use that. I just make a stencil out of vinyl, put it down, make sure it's super clean and flat, and I just use that to burn into it. That's what I did for my Polymer 80 for the little FU I put on the serial number area. So, and you can use a Dremel too. It won't look as professional. I like stuff being pretty. Actually, I have my own roll stamp I use instead of etching it into the lower. I bought a bunch of these Ziploc bags that are the size of lower receivers, and I put the vinyl on the opposite side of where the normal roll stamp is, and I tape it off, put the bag on it, cut it, tape that to it, put it in my sandblaster. I blast off the anodizing, and then I have my maker's mark I put on all my receivers now. So
I'll be right back. Hang on one second.
okay. Number punches. I'm sure you could use them. The problem is usually the metal you use on suppressors are quite thin. So you would have to have some kind of like Delron mandrel to put inside of it so that way you don't collapse it. If you do that and you anneal the metal first, then stamp it, then heat treat the metal, you could probably get away with it. But those usually are for thicker metal. Yeah, a backing block, but because it's got to be in the tube, the main body has to be the part that has to be serialized. And like I said, usually, unless you want to have a 5-pound suppressor, you use pretty thin gauge, like a 14 gauge tube or so. And by using that, just one good hit and that thing becomes an oval, and next thing you know, everything's off. So
if you want to know how good Jim is, he made this. He painted this for me.
Hey, you can't have guns on live streams anymore.
It's not a gun. It's a replica.
You can't have toy guns even.
It's a replica.
Yeah, his replicas. Yeah, that was just some Cerakote work.
I gotta clean this.
Are they even doing anything anymore?
Okay, I'll talk to you.
Break time. They just had a long lunch. Now they got to sit around for after an hour.
What they're doing. They're trying to figure something out.
This reminds me of being in the Army.
Yeah, it does. Hurry up and wait.
Got back from lunch, doing an after lunch formation. Now we're going to go work for half an hour. Then, hey guys, by the way, it's our half an hour smoke break. Let's go hang out at the smoke pit. Listen to music on our little mini speaker thing and BS until First Sergeant comes around and tells us to get back to work. Okay, Texas vet, how will 1927 affect the ability to carry inside your vehicle? All right, so they removed the belt and shoulder holster requirement, as CJ so graciously commented on last night. So now, basically, you can carry however you want in your vehicle once this goes into effect. So as long as if it's openly carried, it has to be in a holster. Now, there is no definition of what a holster is. So if you got one of those cup holsters where it's like a cup insert with a holster built into it, you can put it into that. As long as it's openly carried where it's visible, if it's in some sort of holster, it's legal. If it's concealed, then you can however you want to conceal.
And also keep in mind that if you're under 21, you cannot open carry in a vehicle.
Yes. If you're under 21, concealed carry only unless it's a shotgun or long gun, which rifle, same thing. Then in that case, you can open carry. But pistol, no, must be concealed if you're under the age of 21.
Yeah. So it doesn't really affect it. The only real difference is if you're under 21, you can't open carry in a vehicle, and it can be in any holster. It doesn't have to be a belt or shoulder holster. We got rid of those words.
Binary code, bunch of zeros and ones. It does change because with this, you do not have to have a license to open carry in your vehicle.
Yes.
That's actually a big misconception. When I first got to Texas and I was at Fort Hood, which technically I still am, a lot of guys like, oh, yeah, you can carry in your vehicle. It just has to be open carried. And they're like, yeah, just stick it on your dash and you'll be fine. And I found out really quickly, not through me getting in trouble, but other people, that is not the legal way of carrying. It has to be concealed. So, yes.
What has to be concealed?
Open carry it. Did they ban assault sex objects? Technically, sexual toys have been illegal in Texas for how long? 100 years or something?
Only if you have 6 or more.
Only if you have 6 or more. So, yes.
Yeah, if you have less than 6 dildos, you're good.
Yeah, you can have a dildo shooter as long as it doesn't hold more than 5. So if it shoots 6 or more, it's illegal. But if it shoots 5 or less, you're perfectly fine.
So under the law, 30-6 and 30-7 remain the same. They still deal with unlicensed or with licensed carry. So 30-6 means no licensed concealed carry. 30-7 means no licensed open carry. But what the bill does, 1927 does, is it creates 30-5, which bans everything. So if you see a 30-6 or 30-7 sign and you don't have a license, you're good. If you see a 30-5 sign, it doesn't matter if you have a license or not, you're not good. That's how the licensing changed. That's how the signage has changed a little bit.
Dr. Higginbotham, you can still put a rifle in the back of your truck window.
Yep.
Perfectly legal. It's just it's not recommended because theft has gone up quite a bit in Texas.
Right. I keep my rifle right next to me when I'm driving. Yeah. If I've got my rifle on me, it's like literally right next to me.
But everything Austin is in possession of a handgun by a person under the age of 21 prohibited. No, you can own a handgun at the age of 18. You just cannot. You can't purchase one till you're 21 because a lot of people don't know you can actually carry a firearm with an LTC if you are in the military. Now, the state says any person who is active duty, but the state defines active duty as anyone who is actively enlisted. So if you are National Guard, Reserve, active duty, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, any branch of the military who is actively enlisted, you can get an LTC at the age of 18 and carry a pistol. So you can have one, you just can't get a license until you're 21 unless you're in the military. Let's see what
it's the Human Life Protection Act, which passed by a vote of 19-12 on March 30th of this year.
Let's hear this one.
In Senate Bill 9.
No,
House Bill 1280 will end in Texas to the fullest extent of the protection. Will create in Texas the fullest protection for the unborn. In the event and to the extent that the Supreme Court reverses its rulings under Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. Currently, 10 states have enacted similar pieces of legislation. I move to suspend.
Senator Paxton moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 1280. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Buckingham, Campbell, Creighton, Eckhart, Gutierrez, Hall, Hancock.
There being 18 ayes and 12 nays, the rules are suspended. The chair lays out on second reading House Bill 1280. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 1280 relating to prohibition of abortion.
Senator Paxton, you're recognized for a motion.
I move passage to third reading.
Senator Paxton moves passage to third reading on House Bill 1280. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Buckingham, Campbell, Creighton, Eckhart.
There being 18 ayes and 12 nays, House Bill 1280 is passed to third reading. Senator Paxton, you're now recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the constitutional rule that bills be heard on 3 several days.
Okay, well, that went a lot. I figured, a bill of that nature would have a little bit more debate, but hey, I thought we were going to get something fun out of that. We did.
They've already done it. Yep.
Yeah, it's. But what were they saying here? Andy, what's going on, man? Hey, I haven't talked to you in a minute.
Hey, what's up, Andy?
Someone was saying something about here that everyone in Austin who's 18 to 21 are allowed to possess and even carry handguns, but cannot purchase. Well, I don't know about that one. You can, at 18 years of age, you can have a firearm in your vehicle, and you can legally take it from your home or your apartment to your vehicle, as long as you go directly to it, directly from your vehicle to a place where you're staying a long period of time, friend's house, wherever, some of that nature, directly to a shooting range, back to your vehicle, and then from your vehicle to your home, as long as you keep it concealed. You can't just walk around with it. You can't.
Yeah, you can't walk around with it, even if you're 18 to 20.
Yeah. You can't go down to 6th Street. You can't go down to the Capitol. You can't go down to Starbucks, stuff of that nature.
Although you should take it with you to 6th Street.
Yeah, you probably should, especially with the way Austin's been going. I went down there
Not legal.
when it seemed like it's like did I just
Legal.
California? Like, what the hell's going on here? What the crap? And Andy, it's good to see you're doing well, man. Yeah, excuse me. I took like a 3-month hiatus from social media because all the stupid media craziness and stuff going on was driving me up a wall. So I didn't talk to a lot of people for a while. Just took a little time to focus on giving the kids homeschooling. We decided to get them out of you got to wear a mask and face shield and online school and crap like that. We just homeschool them for the year to make it easy. Okay, Guy, can my goddaughter, 19 years old, keep a gun in her dorm? No. She cannot keep it in her dorm, but she can keep it in her vehicle and her private residence. CJ, what's the law on keeping a firearm in a dorm room?
You gotta be 21 and have a license.
Yeah, if you're 21, have a license, and I think it has to be for state public or state funded schools, right? Or private schools that don't ban it. Right. Yeah, so for some schools, if you're 21 over, if an LTC, you can have it. But at 19, if she lives off campus, yes. In her vehicle, yes. Because your vehicle is considered an extension of your home, so you're protected underneath castle doctrine. So you can keep it in your vehicle. And you can, like I said, you can conceal carry it directly from your home. Put it in your purse, put it wherever you can't see it, to your vehicle.
No, stop.
CJ is being attacked by his wife.
I am. She's trying to keep me from eating.
Are you really biting me?
She's raping his mouth.
Give me my food. She's taking food from me.
Really poor episode of Dune where the worm's going in to try to get the stuff.
She just took food from me.
I guess he's not supposed to be eating candy bars. Okay, sorry, little intermission there. Stupid media craziness as opposed to normal stupid craziness. Unicorn hearts and bunny farts. Yeah, it was with the election and all the stuff going on. It was just getting really annoying. So I just stepped away for a little while. California makes you get gay married and takes your guns. I got some friends in California. California, it's a beautiful place, but there's just a lot of dumb stuff going on there. Let's see what Hughes has going on. He usually brings some good stuff.
From Longview in my district over in the House. And you may recall during Senate Bill 7, we talked a lot about disability. Folks were confused about what the definition of disability was for purposes of getting a mail ballot. And so this bill provides to give some guidance on what it is and what it is not. It's pretty clear. And also, while they were in the House, they added an important provision that makes sure we're covering mothers who are confined because of childbirth. And so if they're likely to be confined for childbirth on election day, they're covered as well. And so that's what the bill does. And I move suspension of the Senate's regular order of business.
Senator Hughes moves suspension of the regular order of business. Taken to consider House Bill 3920. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Buckingham, Campbell, Creighton, Eckert, Gutierrez, Hall, Hancock.
Having 17 ayes and 13 nays, the rules are suspended. The chair lays out on second reading House Bill 3920. The secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 3920 relating to an application to vote early by mail on grounds of disability or confinement for.
Okay, so that basically just narrows it down. And if you're disabled, and secondly, I'm 100% disabled because I got screwed up in Iraq, so I can get them. But guess what? My hobbly broken ass still goes down in the voting center every time we need to vote and votes. But hey, whatever. Okay, so let's wait for the bill. Safety First Texas said elder abuse fit in CCJ. So let your wife know she's beating up an elderly. Let's see. Give a Christian social butterfly wants a breakdown on the law. Christian, are you talking about 1927? Or are you referring to another law? I'm guessing 1927, but does 1927 change anything for those of us who already have a license to carry? Okay, so we're awesome. There's a few big changes, minor changes. One, they're going to have new signage. They're going to have 30.05. 30.05, as I call it, is kind of like the God sign. 30.05 bans anyone from carrying into a building. So if you see a 30.05 sign, that means no one can carry license or no license, which is kind of dumb because the 30.6 and 30.7 sign bans just people with a license, but 30.5 sign means everyone. So if you see a 30.5 sign, you can't carry there. Second, it changes for how you openly carry. If you're an open carry guy, you no longer have to have it on a belt or shouldered holstering device. So as long as it's in a holster of some sort, it doesn't have to be physically attached by a belt or shoulder device. CJ, is there anything else I'm missing on the differences for LTC carriers?
Nope, I think you covered it.
Oh, well, bam, I got too quickly. Okay, Kristen, so that's actually a pretty long one of everything going on about what we cover. For the most part, it's just saying that people who do not have a license will be treated about the same as people with a license, minus you still have to do a background check if you want to buy a firearm. We're not sure whether or not people without a license will be permitted to carry inside the state capitol. That is something that DPS and Capitol Security Preservation Society, they think they are above state law, so they get to decide who and what gets to happen on state land. So we got to wait for what they're saying is going to be on that one. Other than that, it's primarily the same. There's going to be a little here and there adjustments. CJ has a great video out on Open Carry Texas. He streamed last night. It's about an hour and a half long, goes in very fine detail about everything put out on there. So if you want to look up Open Carry Texas channel, he has a live stream of that. I'm going to be doing an abbreviated channel later tonight or tomorrow, giving a little bit shorter and a little less less detailed version of what the bill covers. So those are things we got out for.
Yeah, if you really want to know all the details and understand what you can and cannot do in finite detail about what 1927 does, my video is better for that. If you just want a general overview, and which says pretty much the same thing, just doesn't go into as much detail, look at Jim's video where he sort of summarizes it all. But I spent an hour and a half, me and my wife spent an hour and a half answering questions last night and going through literally every section and explaining what the new law does and does not do.
And Austin, yeah, 80%, I mean, use the phrase easy. If you want to slap one together, you can. But like I got a 80% Glock 20 10 millimeter. And, to get the frame to get it where it doesn't look like, hobbled crap. And the pins didn't fit properly. So I made my own stainless steel pins for it to the proper size. And I had to do some modifications to the trigger housing that sits in the back. I had to do some filing, some clipping. So it's not really just like you just slap it together, drill a couple holes. It does take a little bit of finite work to get the slide to fit properly, to get everything to work properly. So it took me probably about 6 hours, 6+ hours to get mine to really function well before I even took it to the range. And then a couple hours of fine tuning to really get it where I like it. So, a lot of people think, oh, you can put this together in 20 minutes. It's like, yeah, can you slap one together and it might work the majority of the time and still jam up like a high point? Yeah. But if you want one to get one and make it work well, like an out of the box Glock, you're going to have to put some time into it and have some knowledge of what you're doing. It's not just something that any idiot who's never touched a gun in their life can slap together. License to carry skips NICS when purchase. Okay, so Jack Hammond want to know if a license to carry skips the NICS check when purchased with HB 19. Okay, so if you have a license to carry, you don't have to do the background check. If you do not have a license to carry, you still have to do a background check. So with HB 1927, if you don't get the license to carry, it's just like every other time you had to buy a gun. You got to go in there, fill it out, show your ID. They have to submit it to the NICS system. They got to run it through all the federal and state background checks. And sometimes you get lucky and it goes through real quick. Sometimes it's deferred. You got to come back in a couple days. So it really depends.
Yeah, there's Dan Patrick's out there. So I wonder if they're going to bring up 1927.
Yeah, he was out there right before lunch too. So we'll see if he gets to it. That guy right there, the only time he talks when he's trying to get people to vote for him, like, oh, more, come up and say something I need to say so that way people know that I'm adamant about something. So make sure to vote for me. Give me money. What do y'all carry? I carry a Canic TP9SC. Maris, I got different guns for different occasions. This is Texas, so depending upon what my outfit is, I have different guns for it. My personal favorite is my Ruger 5.7, 20 rounds of 5.7 by 28. It's a super light gun. I have zero issues with it. Sometimes I carry one of my multiple Glocks. I got a Glock 17, Glock 19, 2 Glock 20s, Glock 29, Glock 40. So it depends on that one. I got a Smith & Wesson 686 plus if I want to bling a little bit. If I'm dressing up nice, I want to bring out my Apollo stainless steel 7-shot 357. I'll wear that guy sometimes. So it really depends. You know, if I'm doing a Texas day, I got my 1911 10 mil. All depends on what I'm wearing. Yeah, 5.7 is fun. I'm actually working on getting everything together so I can start loading my own 5.7 ammo, along with making my own custom 358 Winchester rounds. I don't know if you guys saw the video yet. I have a 358 Winchester AR-10 pistol. It is a freaking beast. Yeah, 44 Magnum for a barbecue is pretty good. You just got to make sure not to get any barbecue sauce in the cylinder in that 44 because that thing will jam up real quick. 1911 for a wedding is pretty good, especially if you got one that's really nice, like nickel and gold with the ivory handle. Nothing screams class like a nickel and gold 1911 at a wedding. I'm telling you, that's Texas all day long. Or if you can get one that matches your hat, you got a cowboy hat on, that's nice right there. Have I ever shot a 375 Stalker? No, I have not. I don't get too far into the rare rounds because every time it's like 350, 350, 350. It's, oh man, it gets expensive. The only reason I got the 358 is because it's a hunting round and I can get like 200 rounds for like $225. It's cheap and I can find ammo for it with everything going on. So Drew in Reno. No, we're waiting for 1927, so we kind of got them paused. CJ, I don't know if he's feeling very well today. Usually he talks a lot more. He's kind of looking like Tom Hanks from Philadelphia right now with the lighting. So,
do I need to soften my image here a little bit? Let's see. How's that?
Yeah, I was about to say your exposure is a little high, man. I mean, I got a super bright studio light sitting in front of me that could blind most people.
There we go. How's that?
Or
that?
Vampires from Blade 3, you know, it's going to pop out and his mouth can open up.
There you go. It's a little better now.
Yeah, it is. Man, you're getting old. How old are you now, CJ?
29.
29?
Yeah.
You identify as 29?
I do. I identify as a 29-year-old.
Okay, that works. You know, in the custom day and age.
Yes.
Let's see. Are you getting rid of the 5-year thing, making the same requirements for just firearms purchases? Rambo, I think you're talking about the 5-year waiting period. Okay, so it's if you commit a certain group of Class A misdemeanors, you must wait 5 years after the end of your conviction before you can carry without a license. 1686 apparently died on the floor. Was I talking over that?
What's that?
It says Beachcomber put 1686 as apparently died on the floor. Did I miss that one?
I don't know. Let me see. I didn't hear that one.
Or is that a house bill that died in the house?
86. Oh, it never. Yeah, it never even got out of the House, or it looks like it never got over to the Senate. The Senate is where it died.
Oh, wait. Which that one?
Yeah, it died in the local government committee in the Senate.
You want to give us a breakdown on the bill?
So this was the one about regulating food production in a municipality, gardens and things like that. It prevents homeowners associations and municipalities from limiting your production of food, essentially, on your own property. But it died in committee in the Senate, is where it died, not on the House floor.
Well, that's just stupid.
Yeah. Looks like they never even, the Senate never, it was referred to local government committee back on the 14th, and it just, nothing's ever been done with it.
Yeah, well, that's how most bills die. They just don't get anywhere. Guy, CJ needs a candy bar. He actually tried to eat something earlier, and his wife mouth raped him to get it out.
I know. I was trying to eat some food, and my wife literally tried to take it out of my mouth.
Might need to keep this video for evidence later on in case she starts abusing you.
If I disappear, it's because she's chained me in a closet with no light and no food.
Kinky. Button cord denied. Yeah, and that's the problem. A lot of these bills, it's like, hey, these are really simple bills that make sense, but
She says I need to eat more healthy.
It just doesn't get anywhere.
She's right.
Well, they taking another long smoke break? There's a problem. A lot of these people are too old and they got to piss every 30 minutes. So,
hey, wait a minute now.
Sounds like a good time at CJ's. If you can fit in his house. Every time I walk in, I got to duck underneath his door.
That's because we live in a hobbit home.
For you guys, it's perfectly fine. For me, it's just like, I'm afraid I gotta turn sideways to go through your doorways. Marius, what inside the waistband holster company do you recommend? I make my own. I got sick of paying exorbitant amounts of money for holsters, so I bought myself a press, a bunch of Kydex, watched a bunch of YouTube videos, started playing around, and learned how to make it myself. Now I make my own holsters.
Breaking news here. If you wear 2 bathing suits, you can pee in the pool this summer.
But don't forget, you still got to have your mask on.
Yeah.
Okay, does 1927 change anything associating with the fees or renewing an LTC or being issued an original for that matter? There was another bill that had to do with the fees for an LTC. Actually, you're probably quicker at looking at it. Do you want to see if that bill made it anywhere? Because I remember
which bill? Which bill?
The bill for making LTCs free in Texas.
Oh yeah, let's see.
CJ is by far considerably better at researching and looking at bills than I am. I'm good at Googling pictures of girls with guns or trying to find auto parts.
I think that was 2247, if I remember correctly. Let's see.
But Marius, for holsters, look at Alien Gear. Alien Gear has made some pretty cool inside the waistband holsters I used before I started making my own. And,
yeah, 2247.
So what do you say, CJ?
Yeah, no, it was 2247. I was just making sure I had the right bill number.
Any update on where it's at?
I'm looking right now. I think it's just waiting on a hearing on a 4 vote. Let's see. Oh no, it's already looks like the committee report has been distributed. So now the House and the Senate just need to approve it.
So it hasn't been voted on at all?
Oh, never. I'm sorry. It's in Calendars Committee. It's been in Calendars Committee for 4 days, and so the House has not voted on it yet.
Was it a Senate bill or House bill?
It's a Senate bill. Senate Bill 2247.
Already passed it, just waiting on the House.
Yeah, just waiting on the House. It's already passed the committee as well.
Okay, there you go, Beachcomber. Passed the Senate, waiting on the House. If it gets passed, then it's got to do third reading and it'll be passed, and then no more fees. There you go. Ras Solution says he loves his alien gear holster.
Oh, alien gear holsters are good. Yeah, they're pretty good.
They just came out with a new line of duty holsters that are supposed to be really funny, and I just said the word duty.
Okay, I'm going to go check my mail again.
Okay, you go run check your mail. I'm going to see what's going on with this bill, see if there's anything.
Appliances for any energy source for properties owned by the regulatory.
Nope, talking about energy bills. I'm just wondering if we will even be able to buy ammo ever again. Yes, so basically, ammo companies usually have a surplus of ammo, and they will, so they have so much ammo and they'll get, a big buy, so it'll kind of decrease and they'll catch up, and they always have that supply of ammo they can push out. Well, because of the big amount of ammo purchases lately, they sold out all the ammo they have. So because they sold all the ammo they have, basically everything they make has to be shipped out pretty much immediately. So once people stop panic buying ammo and constantly, like I stopped buying ammo a couple months ago. I'm sitting on, well, I'm not going to tell you, but I have enough to supply probably a platoon right now. And I've been buying for years. I buy, once a month I'll pick up a couple here, or maybe I'll buy 500 on a really good deal, a steel case, or, whatever. So once people stop freaking out and buying mass amounts of ammo, and they let these companies start catching up, and all the big companies are new facilities, new lines, adding more employees, getting ahead on everything. Once they get ahead on everything, then restocks will start coming in, shelves will start getting full again, prices will start coming down a little bit. Unfortunately, because of the economy right now, the price of ammo is going up because everything is getting more expensive. Brass is more expensive, primers are more expensive, lead's more expensive, propellant's more expensive. Everything's more expensive right now because fuel's more expensive. To get stuff delivered, gotta get with that. Mining equipment requires petroleum products. So because fuel goes up, everything becomes more expensive. Machinery requires electricity. Electricity gets more expensive because they're putting more restrictions on coal power plants. Prices goes up. So that's why everything is going crazy right now. But I'm saying by probably the end of summer, ammo availability will be back to not normal, but to the point where you can start getting stuff, and probably around Christmas time we'll be back to damn near normal, as long as we don't have any more crazy stuff happen.
Look what I just got, Jim.
Hey, you got your package too. I can wait on that. Yeah, the only ammo I need right now that I just absolutely not find for a good place is 6.5 London. Right before all this kicked off, about a couple hundred rounds of it going, oh, I need to get more ammo stock. And it is like either usually it's a $10 or $12 for 20 round box is now, jacked up to 40 or 50 bucks, or it's completely out of stock. 5.56, 7.62, 308, 9mm, 10mm, 12 gauge, 410, 45 long Colt, 357, 38, all that stuff. I'm sitting pretty on at the moment. So, Captain America, no, we're waiting for it to be heard. Of course, they're dragging their feet on it, so it will eventually happen. Some places in Austin have ammo. Check pawn shops. Yeah, there's a place here in Killeen called Knocked and Loaded. They always have ammo, but what they do is they send their employees out to go to the academy, and they go to all kinds of random places, buy the ammo up, bring it back to their place, and they basically double the price of the ammo and then resell it. I can always get ammo if I want to. I can go on post because Fort Hood is one of the new military posts that sells firearms and ammunition. So I can always get it there, but it's hit and miss in what they have. But the prices are good. Like I picked up a 50 round box of 308 for $24 last time I went there. So it's not bad. I remember I got 1,000 rounds of 9 for $280, not anymore. Oh yeah. God, I remember used to be able to go to Walmart, pick up 100 rounds of white box for $15.99. You know, probably a decade ago. So whatever. Neckbeards. What are you talking about, Ras? You know, I've had someone call me a neckbeard before, and I actually had to look up the definition. I'm like, I got a neckbeard. F you, guy. So yeah, CJ, that paper you got, like that first pieces of everything that's paper clipped together is basically just the lawyers saying, "Look at me, I'm so good, I'm so good." Get to the back one with the big metal. That's the important one.
Yeah, I'm actually looking up this expert witness and to find out what their trial experience has been.
Whole lot of dippity doodah is what I'm looking at. Texas Tactical in Clarkland does the same thing. They buy from Academy and triple the price. Yeah, and I'm telling you one thing. I keep track of everyone during these times who are charging $50 for ammo that they're buying for $15, and everyone who's taking Glocks and selling them for $1,000. I keep a little list of these people. When all this is over, I never buy from them again. But cheaper than dirt, don't touch it. All these guys, I will not ever spend $1 with them again. Okay, so we got Danny boys back out there, so it looks like we're getting some of the big boy bills.
Oh, never mind.
I'll tell you, while you're reading over that, I'm going to let some of this play so it's not just me talking like an idiot.
Ayes, no nays, rule suspended. Chair lays out third reading and final passage. Committee substitute for House Bill 2757. Secretary, read the caption.
Committee substitute House Bill 2757, relating to the conduct and promotion of charitable raffles.
You recognize on final.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage of the committee substitute of House Bill 2757.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betcourt, Birdwell.
27 ayes, 3 nays. The bill is finally passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope that appeals to your Catholic nature.
If someone on the list of people who overcharge, I'd have to go on my phone and look it all up. But I got a list of about 30 places. Actually, a big one I'm exposing right now is there's a huge pop-up of these fake sites that sell ammunition and gun parts lately. And you can usually tell because they have all ammunition in stock, every ammunition, and it's for pre-COVID prices. And everything looks great. It looks like it's a well-designed website. They have all the ammunition you want. And until you get to the final one, you put your you put your email address in, you put your shipping address, and you get to the payment part. But when you look at it, instead of it going, hey, Visa, MasterCard, so-and-so, they only take Cash App, some other app called Zella or something like that, or Bitcoin. These are huge sites that are
Senator Hall, you're recognized. Members, this is a third reading bill. You're recognized on House Bill 2622 to suspend the regular order of business.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I move we suspend the regular order of business on the bill that is going to keep the federal government out of our Second Amendment business here in Texas.
Secretary will call the roll.
Interesting. I can't seem to find this expert anywhere in LexisNexis.
Buckingham, Campbell.
17 ayes, 13 nays. Rules are suspended. Chair lays out third reading and final passage. House Bill 2622. Secretary, read the caption.
You what?
House Bill 2622, relating to the enforcement of certain federal laws regulating firearms, firearm accessories, and firearm ammunition.
You're recognized on final.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I move final.
He's like a cop or something.
Bill 2622, which will make Texas a Second Amendment sanctuary state.
Secretary will call the roll.
Oh, they're doing the Second Amendment sanctuary state right now.
Ayes, 13 nays. Bill's finally passed. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
All right, it just passed.
Well, that's kind of weird. Everyone was telling me this bill passed last night, but okay, cool. I guess we got it passed anyway. So
yep,
hey,
it's on its way to making. So now once this is signed into law, any federal law more strict than state law.
Well, I guess the information I got this morning was bogus. So you know who I'm talking about, the person that told me this.
Yep.
I think CJ knows who it is. Yeah.
Oh, never mind. I think I found him.
Okay. Question: why don't you stand together? What are you talking about? Ras, who are you talking about standing together? Well, Ras, it depends on what you're talking about. Because you have like, what is it? SIG is suing Springfield right now because the Hellcat magazine has a couple features that are too close in resemblance to the Sig Sauer P365 magazine, which is funny. They're not interchangeable in any way.
Senator Huffman, you're recognized on House Bill 1900.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Members, can we have some order on the floor? There's a lot of noise, a lot of conversations going on. If you're talking to House members, help them all you can, but do it as quietly as you can. Senator.
Thank you. Members, at this time, I move to suspend the regular order of business, take up and consider House Bill 1900. Members, unfortunately, local governments in some parts of the state and around the country are responding to certain calls to defund the police. And even though few Texans and actually few citizens anywhere in the country actually support defunding local law enforcement. Law enforcement officers in defunding jurisdictions not only face wage cuts, but they have also shown to have had fewer resources to secure the tools necessary for safe and effective policing. This in turn can undermine law enforcement effectiveness, which can chip away at the crucial relationship between peace officers and the public. Under this bill, a defunding municipality is one that adopts a budget that reduces the funds appropriated to the municipality's police department compared to the previous fiscal year. This is determined by the Criminal Justice Division of the Governor's Office, and the bill has several important caveats to ensure there are no unintended consequences. To account for the unique circumstances of smaller jurisdictions, this bill does not apply to cities with a population of less than 250,000. In calculating whether a municipality has defunded, grant money received by the municipality and appropriated to the police is not included. It also allows municipalities to seek approval from the Criminal Justice Division if they need to reduce their police funding to account for things like a declared disaster, one-time expenditures, and really any other reason the Criminal Justice Division approves. This provision ensures that there's flexibility within the budget of a municipality. If the Criminal Justice Division determines that a municipality has in fact defunded, the municipality may not annex any new areas during the period in which it is a defunding municipality. The municipality must hold a disannexation election in each area that it has annexed in the last 30 years. The municipality may not raise taxes over the no new revenue tax rate or the voter approval tax rate, whichever is lower. And before sending the municipality taxes collected by the comptroller must deduct the amount of funds the state spent in the last year to provide law enforcement services in the municipality and credit that amount to DPS. A utility owned by a defunding municipality may not increase utility rates or fees over those applicable on January 1 of the year the municipality was determined to be a defunding municipality. Finally, a defunding municipality must maintain the total contribution amount to a defined benefit public retirement system from year to year, even if that requires the municipality to increase contributions to the system. By decreasing law enforcement resources and support, local officials endanger our communities and the law enforcement officers who protect us on a daily basis. There are going to be several floor amendments that Senator Hinojosa is going to offer that will further help ensure that there are no unintended consequences, as the intent certainly is not to punish any municipality that supports law enforcement. Again, members, it's important when you look at this legislation to think of it this way. It is our hope, my hope, that this legislation is never enacted, that it never has to be used. That's enacted, but never has to be used. that in fact our law enforcement community will have the funds necessary to perform the critical functions that we need of them so desperately, and this bill never has to be used. So with that, I will suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 1900.
Senator Hinojosa, for what purpose?
Will the senator yield for a couple of questions?
You yield?
Yes.
Senator Huffman, we had a similar, I guess, the companion Senate bill that you authored and we passed from the Senate floor. And this is pretty much the same, similar. There's some differences. What are those differences?
Well, the differences are, I can talk about how we passed SB 23 off the Senate floor. Of course, it was changed in the committee in the House State Affairs. So, but initially it would apply to every entity, political entity statewide, and it required a vote. As often happens in legislation and during the process, the legislative process, the House had a little different ideas about how this should be handled. So they actually just passed Senate Bill 23 off the floor of the House, but they have it limited to only counties of only 1 million, which I think apply to about 5 counties in the state. And they have made some other changes. So it will be coming over here and you will see it again since it's just been passed out, and I will be discussing it on the floor. It will apply to large urban counties. This bill, the House bill, only applies to municipalities of 250,000 or over, which gets us about, under the current Senate census, gets us about 11 cities. Though looking at the numbers, I think it is possible that it will go up to about 13 cities after the next census.
And I know we actually had a good hearing on House Bill 1900. And we actually came up with a couple of areas that needed some point of clarification. Dealing with crime control districts, for example. Industrial districts and annexation.
And you brought up some excellent points, Senator Hinojosa, and I was happy to work with you to make sure that was put into the bill so that there were no unintended consequences. I appreciate your input on that.
Well, and thank you for working through the process itself, because those were issues that needed clarification, and I intend to offer 3 amendments to provide clarity, and I think working with the governor's office also, making sure they were acceptable in a sense. But anyway, thank you so much for your explanation, and I intend to vote for the bill just like I did in the committee. Very much appreciate that, Senator Hinojosa.
Hey, Jim, check your messages.
Questions of the author?
Do you yield?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chair Huffman, you and I have spoken about this, and we worked a lot on your Senate Bill 23 earlier, which, although ultimately I still was unhappy with the bill, I was very appreciative and admiring of the changes that you made to that bill to address some very serious considerations of various cities around the state. Most of the changes that you made in that legislation are not in this bill. Is that fair to say generally?
I will say that the bill has some considerable changes, but I will say that many of the concessions and points that made in the original SB 23 were to try to ahead of time think about issues that may arise that would be necessary for cities or counties to spend money that they didn't anticipate, and that could affect the way that the next year was calculated. So actually this bill, and the way it's worded, where the Criminal Justice Division can make exceptions and can look at specific problems and issues that a municipality may have and exempt them from being a defunding municipality, I think actually it will work the same, although it's not so specifically stated in the law. But I do believe that they will have the opportunity to look at those issues that we discussed. And some of them are built into this, like grants and and other extraordinary disasters, and that is built into the bill. So there are some differences, and I would say the main one is that it doesn't apply statewide, which is clearly, and it doesn't have the vote. So those are pretty big differences.
And there's one I do want to talk about. We've talked about it before. In particular, one of my cities is affected. 7 of them aren't. The city that is affected is the city of Dallas. And in fact, that was a discussion that was the subject of our conversations with respect to Senate Bill 23, because the city of Dallas, well, let me back up. Have you ever served on city council?
I have not.
I haven't either. And I appreciate the work they do so much that I'm reluctant to interfere with them. So when you look at something the city of Dallas did, they cut their police budget, but they didn't cut their police budget. They cut their police overtime budget, and they actually increased their overall police and law enforcement budget. They increased their budget. And so in Senate Bill 23, the version that we passed out of here, there was a recognition that a police department and a city council and a city manager might be able to work within police funding, and as long as they're not cutting it overall, they're not falling under the hammer of Senate Bill 23. But in this bill, they get hit for that same action, right?
I do think that that would be a situation that the Criminal Justice Division could look at and determine whether, in fact, there was an intent to defund the police. So I think in those, like if you had a year where there's a lot of overtime, maybe the Super Bowl had been in town, or, sometimes there's some extraordinary event that has really caused the overtime to spike. In my opinion, that would be something that the division would look at and say that there was not in the intent of the municipality to truly defund the police.
And is that kind of discretion built into House Bill 1900?
There is that discretion built in here.
So another thing that's curious about House Bill 1900 is it only applies to municipalities of greater than $250,000. Is there some sort of logical reason that a city of 260,000 people should be subject to this statute, but a city of 240,000 would not be?
Well, I think that the 250,000 number was chosen because we are trying to get into the higher populated urban cities where we tend to see higher crime rates, and we tend to see more of the movement or talk about perhaps defunding the police. So I think it was designed to catch those cities where the problem is most likely going to occur.
So there's this assumption, and it may even be backed up by evidence, that larger, more dense urban populations may have higher crime rates.
Well, there's more people, for one thing. So
there are more people. So couldn't the bill, instead of putting some sort of number as to city size, have a reference to places where crime has risen by a certain percentage?
I suppose you could craft a bill that way. I think it'd be really difficult because, people argue over crime statistics and what crime should be included. And so anytime you draw the lines, I guess it's subject to debate about where the line should start and stop. But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I would just say, and in this bill, we chose 250,000 because that brought us into the larger urban populations.
It's certainly easier to just put a number in it. It takes a lot of work to actually figure out if there's a rationale for it. And so I'm wondering, though, what about the small town that sees a big spike in crime that is irresponsibly cutting their law enforcement budgets? Do they just get away with it?
Well, I would hope that the citizens would elect new city council members, but
bingo.
Yeah, but I don't. Let's hope that doesn't happen. If we see a spike in that type of activity in the state, I'll be happy to add them in next session. So
it does seem to me also that from a political perspective, by omitting smaller cities, we are leaving out most of the elected officials. We're leaving their cities out of this bill, and the elected officials who might oppose this bill are the ones getting picked up in this bill. Does it seem like that it's breaking down that way?
I didn't hear the last part of your question. It seems like the elected officials.
The cities that are most affected by this are most likely to be represented by people who oppose it. And the opposite is true, which makes the whole thing seem like just a political show instead of anything serious.
I don't think it's a political show. I think it's a genuine attempt to make our community safer. And again, and I know when I laid out this bill and I started, my hope is that we never have to use this legislation, because my hope is that all the cities protect their police, don't defund the police. I can say my own city of Houston is an excellent job with police. So I'm hoping my city of Houston will never have to use this legislation because we have done a good job. Not all cities have done the same. And to the extent other cities haven't, then perhaps legislation like this will encourage them not to do it and to move forward and protect their citizens.
And that brings me to the next point. In order to encourage these cities, and while we're there, I think it's only one ever that has ever looked to reduce their police budget. Is that correct?
I'm familiar with one. There may be others that I don't know about because I'm not privy to every budget, but
and
there's
so
one that's gotten more attention. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's true. And you were mentioning the difficulty of trying to craft legislation that does it just right, and so we chose 250,000. There's a difficulty too of trying to judge whether in any given instance a city that maybe perhaps like way overdid their police budget one session and said, wait a minute, that was out of hand, we need to come backwards. I could imagine that happening. We've never seen it happen, any of us in any city ever, but it's that same uncertainty that as you said, I would hope that the city council people who are elected do a good job of this, and I would trust them. But that's more of a comment, and I promise to just ask questions. So last question.
Yes,
while we're encouraging these cities to not reduce their law enforcement budgets, one of the encouraging things in here is stopping them from essentially generating revenue that they might otherwise choose to generate for municipal infrastructure. So are we stepping beyond the whole law enforcement thing and now jeopardizing public works projects and therefore actually jeopardizing the safety and health of people at the same time we're supposedly trying to ensure that they have adequate law enforcement?
No, I don't think that's the intent at all. I think the intent of the legislation is to have teeth so that municipalities will not defund the police. While infrastructure is certainly an important part of a city's, the duty that they owe their citizens, they also owe to their citizens the right to be safe in their homes and on the streets, and to feel a sense of protections where our children are safe. And that's just as big a duty as making sure our sidewalks aren't cracked and that, our water runs at a certain rate. Those are all very important functions, but public safety, in my book, is the most important function. Others may disagree, but again, the bill is designed to tell municipalities, do not defund the police. And if you do, there are some serious consequences.
Sure. And I don't think we've ever had a member of this body, certainly not me, express that they don't think public safety is a number one priority.
And I know it's important to you, Senator Johnson. I've had a lot of private discussions, and I know where your heart is on that.
Thank you for the conversation, Chair Huffman.
Senator West, for what purpose?
Just a couple of questions, Senator Huffman.
You yield?
Yes.
Senator Huffman, when you talk about division in this particular bill, what is that definition?
The what?
You talk about division, for which the division issues.
The division is it's the criminal justice division of the office of the governor.
Of the governor.
Yes.
Okay, and so any type of exception to being a defunding city,
yes,
it would have to be approved by the governor's office, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's another provision at the bottom of page 2 that talks about tax revenue and defunding municipalities.
Yes.
Okay, but 2 and page 3. I'm trying to understand when you go over to 3.
Page 3?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry, just trying to follow you.
Okay, right. Let me get limitations on 324. Limitations on tax rates for defunding municipalities. Can you go over that again? That section?
Defunding means what is it? What is your question?
Can you go over that section and just kind of give us another explanation on that? Is that taken from the?
Okay, I couldn't listen to that anymore. That was too much and back and forth, people stroking their egos. If anyone else wants to keep hearing that, let me know in the comment section. I'll turn it back on. But I was trying to stay awake. That was a whole lot of
it's the same idiots trying to make racial cases out of things, and I'm surprised they're standing up to Huffman, who's probably the most liberal Republican in the Senate.
Yeah, these are the same people who are trying to defund the police are trying to make sure that they don't defund the police. It's just them eating each other like a bunch of cannibals. So, that one, that really demotivated the hell out of me. I'm going to need an energy drink or something if I don't have any. So back to my 0-calorie coconut water, whatever. Sorry I made you all watch that. I thought it was going to be like, hey, we're talking about defunding the police. It might be something good. And then it just turned into a big, circle jerk of Democrats trying to show how great they are. I don't get it. So where were we? Okay, John says no thanks, Jim. Okay, so see where we at. Firearms cannot be taken from all Americans without tossing the Fourth Amendment out the window. Yes, but at the same time, if you're already getting rid of the Second Amendment, I don't think they're going to care too much about destroying the Fourth Amendment while they're at it. That's the whole thing about authoritarians is they don't care about destroying your rights as long as they feel that they can do whatever they want to.
Hey, Jim, I sent you an email with a breakdown of that guy.
Okay, yeah, I'll read that later so I don't get too distracted. Dylan Paul, look what Hitler did. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he's not the only one. Look at a whole lot of authoritarians throughout history taking away guns and such. Oh, look, the Players Club guy. So we got one dude who goes, did, another guy who stutters, another guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Okay, well, I've done my homework on that dude, so now I can actually read this stuff.
My wife brought me sugar. Yay. Okay. I have another Pop-Tart. Okay. Well, man, I was hoping it was going to be like last time where they got to the bill super early, but no, we got to be like 5 hours in again. So my butt's going to be hurting tomorrow. No homo. So let's hear in the comment section. What do you guys want to talk about?
I want to talk about why we haven't had our bill up yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all want to talk about that.
I mean, you know what I think? I think they're doing this because 1927 is getting them ratings right now, and it's the only reason people are watching. And so they're like, hey, people are going to hear me talk if we just keep doing other bills. Maybe someone will finally listen to me.
This is the first bill of the day that they've actually talked about. Everything else has just been the whole rip through it as quick as they can. They voted this morning to end tonight at 9 p.m. Well, I was hoping they're going to wait till that. I actually had someone on Facebook hit me up earlier and said, oh, they already voted on 1927 and it passed at 3:30. I'm like, I don't think it did because I've been live streaming this since 10 a.m. and I'm pretty sure that bill didn't come through. Get yourself a new Star Wars t-shirt. There we go.
Says I'm a patriot. Weapons are part of my religion.
Oh, yeah, Mandalorians. That's right.
Oh, gosh. You got to listen to Eckhart. She says the dumbest things.
Okay, Eckhart, hold on a second.
In your colloquy with Senator Johnson,
she always finds a way to mention her wife.
Population cap. Considering that it only applies to municipalities above 250,000, most of those municipalities, I think all of them actually, I haven't gone back to check from an American Community Survey standpoint, but most of those are growing. We're one of the fastest growing regions of the United States. So it is probable, is it not, that just by sheer growth, we are not going to see any reduction year over year in police budgets in municipalities of 250,000 or more.
What was the question? Would I not?
The question
expect to see reductions in police officers' budget?
in municipalities where the population is growing,
Yes.
year over year, the probabilities of a real reduction under this calculation are low, and that's a good thing, right?
It's a great thing.
Yeah, I would agree. Not that I hope this on any municipality in the state of Texas, but what will happen under this bill if a city of 250,000 or more experiences a reduction in population?
Well, I would expect if they had a loss of population, they would also have a loss in the amount of their overall budget. And so the police budget could correspondingly lower the same percentage as the overall budget, and they would not be in violation of the legislation.
So, and I appreciate that. The answer there is to make sure that it's commensurate with the other reduction, basically an across-the-board line item reduction.
Correct. If it was in the same percentage, yeah, as the overall budget.
So there are some aspects of those municipal budgets for which the unit cost isn't reduced by population, whereas in law enforcement, the unit cost is reduced by population. So how would we handle those sorts of things in a municipal budget?
I think if there was an extraordinary circumstance that required or made a budget go down, then they could certainly appeal that to the Criminal Justice Division of the Governor's Office and explain their unique situation and that their intent is truly not to defund the police. And they could actually demonstrate that they hadn't cut police officers or reallocated funds. They had not done any of those things, but the numbers were just simply off because of the loss of population. So I believe that, again, the intent of this legislation is to protect the public, to make sure that cities provide the services that the public needs, expects to be protected. And if a municipality is clearly not intending to do that, and it's rather a fiscal twist at some point, then they can show that to the governor's office, who I'm sure would review that with the appropriate seriousness and take the appropriate approach.
And would that also be the approach if, for instance, a city manager came in and said, hey, city council, we are upside down on our benefits package, retirement package. We are concerned about solvency issues, and we need to take action immediately with regard to our contribution rate. Is that another instance where the municipality would need to go to the governor's office to get approval before reducing the budget commensurate with the reduction in, this is just an example, a reduction in the contribution rate?
I don't think if they put more money into a contribution rate that would be putting more money in. So I'm not sure what your question is.
If they were reducing their contribution rate to the retirement package because of, you're right. For an insolvency, they'd have to put more in, but they may be upside down with regard to their salary. What I'm getting to is that there's some interplay between salary and retirement package. That's some flexibility that is enjoyed by municipalities, particularly in negotiating police contracts. Would they need to go to the governor's office to get approval?
There is a specific section in the bill that applies to retirement funding.
Oh, good.
So if you look at that, it's going to very clearly explain what the requirements are and how they're to be calculated in regards to police funding. Because the bill says that a defunding municipality must maintain the total contribution amount to a defined benefit system, even if so the municipality would be required to increase contributions if they needed to, because they can't reduce that.
Thanks for pointing that out.
And of course, many of them have agreements, with their different unions and so forth anyway, but we want to make sure that this bill does not interfere with that.
Thanks for pointing that out to me. I really appreciate it. And the other thing that I'm looking at is if there is some infusion either from the federal or the state level in some area of policing I know that many in this body are concerned, as I am, that we're asking our police to do more and more that perhaps is not squarely under their purview. In mental health care, for instance. If there were a change in the terrain with regard to state or federal investment and infrastructure in mental health care, and a community decided to pull that portion out of policing because luckily they weren't having to do it anymore, would that be a defunding that we would need to get the governor's office's approval for?
Senator, I'm not going to kind of get into the game of specific hypotheticals. The bill speaks specifically to grant money and how those would be considered. And I do understand that sometimes police departments make the argument, oh, we're going to shift funds to mental health, and I think it's great if a city wants to invest in mental health, and I think it's great if they train their police officers in how to.
Okay, yeah, that's every time you think you're going to get some gold, some stupid stuff from a Democrat, they're going to say something that's going to be amusing, and it just ends up being some back and forth of, oh, well, I'm going to say something that's going to, go to my base, and then I'm going to say something, and it's just this back and forth shill section. Oh, that was horrible. I'm sorry I have subjected you to more of that brutality of stupidity, but God, usually Ellen, I don't know her real name. I don't want to pay attention. She says something stupid enough where you can just look at her and go, what? Man, that was just two hecklers just back and forth. I'm progressive. No, I'm more progressive. No, I'm progressive. No, I'm more progressive. Jesus, shit, you two. Go get a drink somewhere. Have a glass of wine. No one cares. Which reminds me of my third grade teacher. Like, I'm going to teach you how great I am. Oh, just vote on the damn bill already. Here's the worst part, is it's probably going to go down party lines. They already know it's going to go down party lines. I mean, well, maybe. I mean, because here's the thing, though, is they already got it set up where if you defund the police, the city loses funding from the state. That's the law right now. And so what this is setting up is saying if you defund the police, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to give you more money from other sources. So this is theoretically setting up where some stupid city council decides to defund the police in the state of Texas, the Democrats will say, hey, don't worry about it. We'll give you enough money anyway so you could be socially woke and take away funding to look good, but then we'll turn around and secretly give you funding from the state so that way you can keep all the funding you got for other little stupid social projects and we'll still give you more money. I'm saying shit down.
Yeah.
If they want to play these stupid games, just defund them. Take all the money away. Just get rid of it. It's probably going to go down party lines. It's probably going to fail. They're just trying to sit here and get up and because notice it's only really Democrats that are speaking because they just want to get up and show how great they are and how they're championing this bill and how they're trying to take care of cops and this and that for their more non-super socialist base. Because the only ones they're doing this for is what San Antonio, parts of Dallas, and Austin. That's it. 3 cities. 3 cities, the only ones that are trying to get rid of cops, to take their funding away. That's it. I think CJ's falling asleep. It's been a little old.
No, I'm reading. I'm just reading.
Anything good?
I got my highlighter out.
Stinky American. Hey, old man, you lived here all your life? No, not yet. Oh, you're talking to CJ. He's been all over the world. Me, I've lived multiple places. I've only been in Texas since 2003.
I was born here in Texas, in Temple.
Say what?
I was born here in Temple, Texas.
Yeah, but you also lived in Japan and stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah.
It's not your whole life, just most of it.
I spent almost every summer here, working on the farm.
I used to live on a ranch that was adjacent to a farm that I worked on, but never lived on a farm. Just shows how ignorant they are. Really, the better past this after having to listen to them. Rambo, believe me, after having to listen to all this BS, believe me, they can better pass this. I'm telling you. Someone said earlier, it's like nails on a chalkboard. They weren't wrong. It's just like, now imagine growing up in Madison, Wisconsin, one of the most liberal cities in America, being indoctrinated for 20 years of people like this. That's why I stayed in Texas after I got out of the military. Believe me, I most of my friends back home won't even talk to me anymore. I am the shunned person in the family because I'm in the freedom and gun rights. My own mother even told me, you need to stop playing around with those guns and come home and be a good son. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good, Mom. I'm cool. Don't worry about it. I'd like to go to Texas sometime. Dylan Paul. Oh, yeah, come to Texas sometime, man. I'll show you around. I'll show you the largest military installation in the world. Get some Texas barbecue. Go shooting. I would say go to Austin, but it's just a bunch of hobo piss and tent cities at this point. But I'll show you some of the more cool parts of Central Texas. Not so Slim Jim. You got here as fast as you could. You're forgiven. Yes, you know, the worst part is I actually moved from Wisconsin to Chicago for school. So I went from one liberal hellhole to an even worse liberal hellhole. Then I got smart and joined the military. Originally, I was supposed to go to Germany, but I flunked out of freaking jump school because it turns out I got bad knees, which I already knew about. And then I got stationed in Fort Hood. So yeah, found some freedom. Is defunding the same thing as reducing their budget as people all over? Yeah, basically defunding is just reducing their budget away because, you know, we need to send social workers to people who are doing armed standoffs and stuff like that. You know what? If Almost Park were to send a social worker to me, I guarantee that would have been a lot better day. Whatever, though. I thought they just passed a bill to ban tent cities. They might have. If they did, that was a binary code. If that was a state one or a local bill, I'm not sure. I know they're talking about doing it, but yeah. Because, you know, this is something that Austin created themselves. Then they're like, oh my God, there's like tent cities and homeless people and fecal matter and piss everywhere. What do we do? Like, I mean, you literally created this. You knew it was going to happen. Don't be surprised when you get it. Everywhere, it's not a dump. We talking about Austin? We're talking about Dylan. Oh wait, okay. So finally, they're getting rid of 1900. So that's nice. Yeah, Austin isn't total dump, just lots of it. Just like Killeen. Killeen's a dump, just not all of Killeen, just most of it. I remember going down to Austin, going down 6th Street and having fun back in like the mid 2000s versus now. Completely different city. Casper, Wyoming. Can't say I've been there. Sounds like a really white town. Oh God, I know we got another idiot Democrat. But look, hey, we got our boys back in the house, rocking in his chair, so yeah, there is a referendum to reinstate the public camping ban in Austin. Proudly voted for it. Arm Nerd, thank you. Thank you for voting on that. I heard people talking about it. I watched a couple stories about, you know, people doing that. And it's like, yes, get rid of it because obviously it's screwing the town up. Most of Killeen is a dump. See, luckily I live in this little corner where Harker Heights is, and I live like right there. I can throw a rock. Literally, I can throw a rock, and I can hit Harker Heights from where I live. So I live in the one of the little nice areas of Killeen. Oh, Foulmouth veteran, you live in Belton. We need to get together one of these days. Greg was telling me we need to chill. So, yeah, we need to hang out. Well, binary code, at least we're not listening to them. So I subjected you guys to enough stupidity for a little while. So we're taking a break from it. Yeah, Foulmouth, if you ever want to come hang out once I get the pool finished getting clean and everything, I usually do every other weekend, we do a big barbecue and pool party kind of thing. So, man, is that idiot still talking?
What's that?
Oh, he's still talking. Now they got the orange bands. Doesn't that mean that they didn't get their vaccine?
No, that means they did.
They did? I
That
thought
they're
the
clear.
they got tested and they didn't have a vaccine.
But no.
Yeah, so now there was something, if you didn't have one, you had to go through some little tent where they took your temperature and had to give you a wristband or something. So Texas Homestead, nope. So far, he missed a whole 5 hours of me talking, a whole bunch of other bills, and yeah, pretty much about it so far. CJ's here. He's reading because he got bored. His blood sugar is low because his wife won't let him eat any candy bars because I guess it's bad for him, and she's trying to keep him skinny because she keeps remembering pudgy CJ, and she doesn't like that. So
I can still hear you.
I know. That's why it's funny. They wear those bands.
You're saying you're trying to keep me from being pudgy, like Jim.
I'm not pudgy. I'm fat.
Oh, never mind. He's not pudgy. He's fat.
I'm fat. Like, I got problems getting up like a turtle. I'm fat. Okay, get it right.
Put this away.
There you go.
You need to put this away.
You got something to say?
What? No, I'm berating you.
She's berating me, Jim.
Because he has a gun out and there's a baby in the house. There,
This does not have enough strength to load that.
right there, so it's out of the way. That's
Oh, that's how they are. That boy out.
He's a good guy.
Oh, that's one I built from scratch. That's good. I can't hear you. Oh wait, now you turn this up.
Did you? What the heck is that?
If there was any time to beat your wife is when she doesn't let you have a candy bar. Jeez.
Oh my
Jose.
gosh. Suck your own.
Yeah, Emily's she's like 110 pounds, but she's 110 pounds of fury.
Ain't that the truth?
Some
I
kind of
married a strong woman.
honey badger coming at you. It's scary.
Yeah, I'm gonna go put my rifle away.
You have some time to go, CJ.
You wanna play with guns? Yeah. One day.
It's not called playing with guns. It's learning with guns.
Hey, you know, it's a great place to hide a gun, too. I'm telling you one thing. Me and my wife, when our youngest was small, we had one of those tactical diaper bags, man. And yeah, it had a place perfectly to put the holster in there. So that pipes, he had the diaper rash stuff, he had the awful formula, Glock 19 for spare mag.
On you? Those gummy bears hit me about 15 minutes ago. Yeah. In my stomach. I'm like cranking up like you not believe.
Man, are they still going about 1900? Good giggity.
So those gummy bears are not.
Oh, that's never good. Hey, where's my highlighter?
DJ's in the senility. He's still trying to find what he just set down 2 seconds ago.
Yep. I'm old.
That's me.
Where
to put my 10 mil? Where to just put that 15-inch crescent? You know, the worst one is a welder. You're trying to figure out, I just set down that TIG rod. You realize it's still sticking out of the metal for when you solidified the puddle.
You know, this is funny. I think the, Texas law says that under resisting arrest statute, that it's not a defense that the arrest was illegal. That has got to be an unconstitutional statute. And I'll tell you what, the first person that I defend who is charged with resisting an unlawful arrest, I'm going to challenge the constitutionality of that statute. I think every American has the right and the duty to resist an unlawful arrest, but by golly, you better be right, because if you're wrong, it's going to be bad.
Well, the thing that gets me is, like, let's say there is an unconstitutional arrest. So, okay, so you're being arrested for some BS and you resist. So they can still, oh, well, whatever they arrest you for is out, but you're still getting resist or assaulting an officer or whatever. Because, you know, if you put your hands in the air when you're told to and you accidentally strike an officer's arm, you now struck an officer and you're looking at felony charges. Like, okay, well, that's the stupidest thing in the world, seeing the fact that he came at me, he told me to put my hands up. What is that, Emily?
It's me.
It's you? Looks like Emily.
It's me.
Well, it's a horrible picture of you.
It's a horrible picture of me. No, it's me in real life. I haven't gone anywhere. Oh, I'm back.
Oh, and now we're on 1589 now.
What is 1589? Let's see.
It's a bill that starts with 15.
Well, it's a Menendez bill, so it's probably a bad one.
You know, he reminds me of one of those car salesmen, you know, one of the ones with the overgrown grass. They got too many cars for the lot. He's always trying to sell you the one with the extended warranty for the car that you know doesn't need a warranty because it's just
we are keeping anything to do with guns away from this baby and his first words.
Oh my gosh. So this bill that they're talking about right now, it would force companies that if an employee is called up to state active duty by the governor or other authority, that the company is required to give them paid leave of absence. So in other words, pay them for not doing anything.
See, that's a hard one because, like, my last job I had before I had to quit because my shoulder was just it got too bad. I was working as a septic inspector and repair technician, and we only had 3 employees. It was the owner, his son, which was a co-owner. Then it was one install guy, me as the primary technician inspector, and then a guy I was training because we had a lot of business and I could only work so much. And the guy who I was training was in the reserves, and he got called up for the whole border crisis thing. And then right after he got done of that, they switched him to the COVID thing, and he was gone for like 7 straight months. Now he started off at like $15 an hour. So are they really going to expect this small company with 3 employees to pay a guy $15 an hour at 40 hours a week for 7 straight months?
Oh, no.
It's stupid.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing though, if you've got a small company and your small company, like you said, has 3 employees, right? Well, when you're gone, if one person's gone, called up to duty, well, they're going to have to do a temporary hire. So now they're literally paying for 4 people instead of 3 if this bill passes. And do you think a small business can afford to pay someone that's not working and pay someone that is working in their place? Doesn't make any sense.
Armed veteran is that who I think you are? I'm trying to figure out if that's actually my guy I worked with doing septic work. And John, you know what? I'm sorry, kind of off subject, but you know, you think it's bad. It's really not bad. You're sitting there looking at like 1,500 gallons of poop and pee. It's not that bad. I can't handle a dirty diaper, but I can work at sucking out 1,500 gallons of human excrement. No problem. Perfectly fine for me. You still working there? Oh, God damn. I haven't talked to you in a minute, and I'm forgetting what the hell your first name is. This is where CJ is supposed to cover down for me while I did something, but I guess I got to do all the talking. Usually he's the talker, so.
Well, I can't talk because I can't talk about what I'm reading here, but I mean, it's because I'm
reading the thing you got in the mail?
Yeah, and I'm quoting some of this stuff to my wife. I mean, like page 7 is such a freaking nonsense.
I only made it to page 3 or 4, and then I had to get back to getting set up for the live stream.
Oh my gosh, this is just, it's, you know what's going to be fun, and I mean, I won't get into specifics, but what's going to be fun is poking holes in all this.
You know, what's get a highlighter and a pen or pencil, because it's just full of it.
Well, what's incredible is not what's included, but what he does not include.
Zach Taylor, where are you from, man? So you're down the road from Harker Heights? Armed veteran. God damn, I'm telling you, man, short-term memory loss. I'm trying to remember your first damn name. I worked with you for a while, and then I can see your face. I remember your bike. I remember where you live, everything, but I'm trying to remember your first damn name, and it just went to crap. Pun intended, of course. Anyways, armed veteran is a guy I worked with at a little septic company here in Killeen. And I liked the boss. He was an angry old man who wanted to, there we go, Gabriel. Yeah, he wanted to basically swear and cuss out everyone in the world, and his son was this emasculate little prick of a man who was just a moron, but you know, whatever. Yeah, he said it finally. Yeah, he got set up on a border mission, was gone forever, but yeah, I always made fun of him in his Ford truck. Man, get to the good bills. So anyways, the reason CJ's busy right now is me and him, we can't get into details of it too much, but we both received some paperwork about our Almost Park lawsuit. So we're reading through some of the interesting stuff we're receiving from the other side. So yeah, it's non-logical. Gabe, what's your mother's maiden name? Well, that's not very nice. Telling you, binary. Don't make this into something rude now. How come Democrats always have semi-auto prohibition bill crafted, but Republicans never have repeal NFA? You know why, Ras? Because most Republicans are spineless. Most Republicans don't want to actually give us real freedom. They only want to give us just enough freedom to make us think that we're free, while Democrats want to take away all our freedom. That's what it basically breaks down to. I'll tell you one thing, I wish YouTube paid me like a penny a second for every viewer I had. I'd be making a lot more money on this. I think I need to call up Domino's and send CJ a pizza. He's looking like he's struggling over there.
Yeah, I'm creating an email to you and attorneys as I go through this document. So that's what I'm struggling with.
Do you get the one about the 7th?
The one about what?
Because we have the one for Monday about us meeting up with Austin.
Oh, is that a new email?
Yeah, I got it like an hour ago saying if we can go meet up with him for some prep stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well, just email him back, let him know. If you didn't get it, I'll forward you mine.
Hang on one second. I'm going to go on mute here so I can discuss with the spouse.
Do it. So don't mind us. We're talking about lawsuit stuff. So, yeah, it's been 3 years and some change since we got arrested. And yeah, we're finally starting to get somewhere with the lawsuit after a whole bunch of basically like, you guys want a couple bucks? No. How about $3? No. How about $4? No. So we're finally getting somewhere with the lawsuit. So obviously not actually that amount of money, but Jim, thanks for being so honest in that answer. I don't remember what I answered, but I answered something. Oh, yeah, about the Republicans and such. Well, there are some Republicans out there that want people to have freedom and stuff like that. And that's a hard one because even let's see what he's talking about here.
Concerns of law enforcement. During the conference committee, we worked diligently with our House colleagues to ensure a final bill that restores the fundamental right of all law-abiding citizens in Texas to carry without a license, a right that was stripped away in 1871, a right already afforded to owners of long guns, a right to fulfill our constitutional right to keep and bear arms without the requirement of a license. The conference committee report for HB 1927 retains amendments adopted on the Senate floor with 3 small changes. First, it retains enhanced penalties for felons and family violence offenders, but removes the 3D designation aspect for felons caught carrying. Second, the conference committee report provides a defense to prosecution for persons who may unintentionally carry in a place weapons are prohibited, but this defense may only be applicable if a sign is clearly posted. And third, the conference committee report added back in the expungement amendment that had been placed on the bill on the floor of the House. This bill, to me, again, is a simple restoration of Texans' constitutional right under the Second Amendment, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. I think it is in a bill that is the strongest bill I've seen in my legislative career regarding the rights of our Second Amendment. And with that, Mr. President, I move that the Senate adopt the conference committee report on HB 1927.
Senator West, what purpose?
They're going to drag this out.
The author.
You yield?
I yield.
And Senator, I was looking forward to the bill. In terms of persons that have been convicted, and those convictions are 10, 15 years old, older. What does the bill say to those individuals as it relates to them to being able to carry arms? It has not been, no. The person has been convicted of armed robbery 20 years ago. And they've been paroled, they're off of parole, a weapon of his bill.
Senator, as we discussed on the floor, if an individual, under this bill, if an individual is able to legally possess and buy and purchase a firearm, then they would be legally able to carry a handgun on their person in a holster for the purposes of self-defense. There are the provisions of certain misdemeanor crimes that were retained, that were discussed extensively on the floor. I won't rehash all those 4 different criteria, 4 different convictions. But again, the bottom line is if you can purchase and possess a handgun, you should be able to, and this bill allows you to carry that firearm, that handgun, for the purposes of self-defense in a holster on your person, either concealed or in the open.
Okay, now let me ask the question again. If a person has been previously convicted of a armed robbery, and that's been like 20 years ago, would they now be eligible under this law to be able to purchase and to carry a handgun and a holster?
If they are not eligible to, if they are a felon, that they would be prohibited from carrying. It depends upon their conviction and what they were actually charged with and convicted of.
So there are some felonies that if they were convicted, that they would now, once this bill passes, be eligible to be able to purchase a firearm.
They would be eligible to purchase a firearm, sir?
They purchase a firearm and carry it.
No, this doesn't change at all any aspects of who is eligible to purchase a firearm or possess a firearm.
Look, you said a second ago, and maybe I misunderstood what you said, that there are some felonies that persons would be able to purchase and carry.
This doesn't change who may purchase or possess a firearm at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
I think Senator Huffman wanted to ask you a question. You had to step out for a moment. You can hold for a moment. Austin, would you let Senator Huffman know that we're just holding for her?
How many times can you answer the same question?
These Democrats are idiots, man. They're idiots.
I don't get it. No. Well, what about no? Well, let me rephrase. No.
This law does not. Yeah, it does not change who those who are prohibitors. Well, what if it's a felony robbery? No. What if it's a felony murder? No. What if it's
Senator Huffman, for what purpose? I hope everything's okay.
It is. Actually, it was Governor Abbott on the phone, so so that was right now. Okay, I have a couple of questions, if I could, about your conference committee report. And I'm sorry, I was called away, but I was listening when you first made your layout, and I wasn't sure that I understood exactly which offenses would be prohibited from the permitless carry. Do you mind going through those one more time with me, just so it's clear?
Well, certainly, if you cannot possess a firearm either under federal law or state law, currently, you would not be able to carry
so
under
that's
this bill.
Still the same. That's the law.
And as you remember, Senator, on this floor, we added 4 different misdemeanor offenses that would not be able to carry under this.
And can we state those just so those are out again?
Deadly conduct, disorderly conduct with a firearm, assault with bodily injury,
and terroristic threat.
Terroristic
Is that correct? Okay. And so individuals with those convictions cannot permitless carry. Doesn't affect their otherwise rights that they may have to possess in their home or other constitutional rights that they have. Yeah.
Those 4 classes are actually still able to possess on their home, or actually in a vehicle that they are in possession of and are controlling.
Okay, and that had been one of the...
That's not a change in the law. That's not a change in this bill either.
Okay, and that had been one of the concerns of law enforcement that they felt very strongly about, and that we were able to address in the amendment process. Is that correct?
There were a number of amendments offered that were in specific response to concerns brought during testimony, hours of testimony during the hearing process, and discussions amongst the senators regarding law enforcement concerns, and I think improved the bill, and again are still in the bill after the conference committee report.
Okay, and then
we only need 16 votes. I mean, we can lose 2 Republicans and it's still going to pass.
Possession that stayed in, except for the 3G component, which would have enhanced the minimum time that a person had to serve, but it's now 5 to 20, so it's sort of a hybrid second degree. Is that correct?
That's right. Okay. It went from 3rd degree felon to 2nd degree felon, 5 to 20, but not with the designation of 3G.
Okay. And then the other issue that I don't think you mentioned, and there had been a lot of debate on the floor about, was the intoxication issue. So could you clarify for me what the amendment did and reassure me that intoxication issue is still resolved in this conference committee report?
Individuals that currently have a license to carry may not do so intoxicated. That was an amendment that we put on this bill on the Senate side, and that is still in the conference committee report and part of this legislation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering my questions. Thank you, members, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Menendez, what purpose?
Mr. President, thank you. To ask questions of the author.
You yield?
To show my stupidity.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Schwartner. So, Senator Schwartner, I was listening to your exchange with Senator Huffman, and you mentioned that there were several people, or I guess felons, that are not allowed to carry permitless. Is that correct?
Yes, under federal and state law, felony conviction, you're not allowed to carry.
Does the conference committee report, does it allow for law enforcement to ask if someone is carrying lawfully?
They can always ask.
No, again, we had a a long discussion
Cops can
about
ask anything.
reasonable suspicion and the aspects of carrying, just the act of carrying, and whether or not you needed to have reasonable suspicion, and of course our Fourth Amendment protections under our Constitution.
So, understood. But I guess the net effect of that is that anybody could carry unless they do something to create a reasonable suspicion that would then.
That's what they're doing now, dumbass.
The investigation that would show us whether or not they were lawfully carrying. Would that not be the case?
Well, you're saying anyone could carry. That is not correct in the sense that there's a whole class of individuals that cannot possess and therefore cannot carry, plus the 4 classes of individuals convicted of misdemeanors that under this legislation would not be able to carry as well.
But Senator, I guess earlier you said that there is no way for law enforcement to require notifying anybody unless there's suspicion, unless they have reason to ask. Then the net effect is that anybody could carry as long as they don't do anything to create the suspicion, because
if you don't like it, repeal the Fourth Amendment.
Accurate.
Well, in our country, individuals are protected by our Fourth Amendment regarding illegal search and seizure, or Fourth Amendment protections, and the letter, what you're stating is correct, but it is correct for anybody committing a certain offenses, and so. That said, anybody that is carrying that cannot possess or has been convicted of those Class A or Class B misdemeanor offenses would, in this bill, under this legislation, several heightened felony in particular would have an enhanced penalty structure, as would those with a history of family violence and assault.
I appreciate that very, very much. We had a horrific murder earlier this morning in a domestic violence situation, so I do appreciate that. Senator, in the bill, did the policy remain where businesses could keep people from bringing their firearm in with a simple sign on the door, or did the House prevail where they would require that
not read the freaking bill?
They couldn't come in?
They can post a sign, a 30-05 sign. There's provisions in the bill about the signage and the size of the signs and the letters, and they can certainly avail themselves of their private property rights to prevent an individual from carrying on their premise, which is private property.
Very good. I appreciate that. And then
I appreciate that, but I'm an idiot still.
My understanding is that the bill calls for DPS to create an online instruction. Is that? Could you elaborate on that? I wasn't familiar with that.
Certainly, I can read you the provisions section of the bill. I'm sorry, I'd have to turn to it and get it. But basically, it is a online training course that would be on the DPS website.
I had a constituent that had asked me during the original debate about whether this bill would allow firearms into Child Protective Services facilities. The big fear, the concern was if you had a rational reason for someone from CPS to remove children from a household, would then a parent be able to come into the facility with their firearm on their side?
We changed nothing in this bill regarding places prohibited, regarding the actual locations. So if they are prohibited from carrying in that location currently, they would be prohibited under this legislation.
I appreciate you answering my questions. I believe you when you say you feel strongly that you're restoring the constitutional right. But do you really feel that this is going to make Texas a safer place to be?
I absolutely do. I think individuals should have the ability to avail themselves of self-defense in this day and age. When you have prosecutors not prosecuting serious crimes, when you have law enforcement that is not supported, I believe it is appropriate that individuals that feel they need to have a handgun on them for self-defense should not have the impediment of having to get a license. there are circumstances in which you need that need that protection or feel like you need that protection relatively quickly. The classic case would be a breakup of a relationship and a perceived threat by one of the partners on the other individual. Under the current law, that woman would have to wait and go through a significant process before being able to protect herself as she took a walk in her neighborhood, for instance. Under this legislation, that woman could protect herself immediately.
Very good. Last question. Do we allow for people to carry without a permit in this building? Do we allow for people to carry lawfully in this building?
We do, sir, with a long gun.
With a handgun?
With a long gun, no, it is against the law at the current time. This legislation could change that. The rules regarding the Capitol complex have not been, the Capitol complex rulemaking would then need to occur after passage of this legislation because it would obviously need to be addressed.
Well, we frequently call this building the people's house, do we not?
We do.
And I think if we're going to allow for these rules to apply in the general public, we should allow them to apply to ourselves as well.
I agree with you on that too. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my questions.
Senator Whitmire, for what purpose?
The gentleman yield.
I yield.
Mr. Warner, you got my attention when you just said that
Whitmire is just much of an idiot.
Prosecuting people. Which one of your DAs in county prosecutors were you speaking of?
I'm not speaking of a particular prosecutor in my district. I've heard stories of prosecutors across the state that are doing less prosecution and of serious offenses, and it is a concern. And I believe,
well, I mean,
it
you
is
can
important.
identify them. I think we ought to call them out publicly right now, and I'll give you that opportunity. Our Harris County DA prosecutes folks for carrying a weapon if they're not qualified. So if that's the justification for the bill, I think you have a duty to inform the public what jurisdictions are not prosecuting people to the fullest extent of the law. Because
Senator,
we need to bring that up in their election, which I think would be a better cure than allowing everyone to have a firearm. And I would challenge you to name a prosecutor. You're the one that said it a moment ago that they're not prosecuting people for illegally carrying a weapon or committing a crime. And that's just not been my experience in following the newspapers in other jurisdictions and certainly where I reside. And I just thought maybe you had a local problem that you're trying to fix.
I don't have a local problem that I'm aware of. I've just read stories and there are voiced concerns that the prosecution of serious violent crime is not being done to the extent that it should.
I think they're being prosecuted. The real problem we're facing right now is the courts under COVID have not been functioning at the level that we would expect. And you get to Harris County, Harvey contributed to that, and then COVID. Would you not agree from all the discussion, the dialogue, that at the minimum we could say this is going to make police officers' jobs more difficult, if not more dangerous? Would you agree with that statement?
No, I would not agree with that statement. Don't agree with it.
I mean, I believe law-abiding citizens that are caring for their own personal self-defense make themselves and their families safer, and society
How do they identify a law-abiding citizen? Now, I come from a very diverse, large community.
At the cops.
Or if we're in Austin, when we go to dinner tonight, how are we going to identify who's law-abiding and who's not by just their presence?
Well, the simple act of
Same way
carrying
you do right now.
firearm under this legislation in a holster on your person is not breaking the law, or would not be breaking the law.
And so
there are obviously crimes, and they are detailed in that very large code of criminal conduct that Senator Huffman brought to the floor. There are a whole lot of crimes But the simple act of carrying a handgun for self-protection would not be one of them under this legislation.
Let me ask you this. Do you think an unlawful person, a felon, which you've got language that gives them a minimum sentence, do you think they respect that? Do you think they're going to wake up tomorrow morning and say, oh, Swartner made it a minimum if I arm myself? You realize they really don't respect the law, nor are they going to respect your language.
I believe strict penalties are a deterrent, as was read by Senator Huffman on the floor when we discussed this. I believe strict penalties also are a deterrent in the sense that they remove criminals from the streets. So
that's after
they might
the
not.
fact. Would you not agree that's after the fact? After we have a crime victim, then we'll remove them and give them a minimum sentence? What about the victims? What are you going to tell them? Don't worry, we're going to lock them up, but police are not going to be able to ask them when they see them armed. I mean,
that dude does not like the Constitution.
Such a significant breakdown in your proposal.
This guy's been in the Senate longer than anyone else there.
Felons or unlawful folks from arming themselves, because the police I had dinner with last night said they're not going to be able to ask them. I think you and Senator Menendez covered that pretty thoroughly. They won't be able to be proactive and ask someone, are they legally carrying that weapon? We'll only find out that they shouldn't have been after they commit a crime. And then they get 5 years maybe. You ever heard of a plea bargain?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay, well, they could easily plea bargain that. Let me ask you one other question. How'd you vote on the Huffman legislation a moment ago that we should not defund police?
I voted affirmative for that.
To not defund police.
That's correct.
Do you not think that show of support for police may be inconsistent with now you're going to make police officers
not at all
difficult, if not more dangerous? How do you reconcile those positions? Because I voted against.
Huffman doesn't look amused.
I also want to make their job as safe as possible, but not making them have to wonder if someone with a firearm is legally doing so.
I think both pieces of legislation will make our communities in Texas and Texans safer. I voted for both pieces of legislation.
One last question. As I was
How many one last questions does he have?
I was looking at the language and it struck me that 21 years of age. How'd you choose that, and what is significant about 21? Because, and to let you know why I'm asking.
And his shoulder shrugs drive me nuts.
Someone could serve a tour in our military and come out and be younger than 21. So you could go to Afghanistan, Iraq, be in the Guard, come home, can't have the same gun rights as the rest of society?
You make a good point, Senator. And in fact, individuals may carry without a license a long gun at the age of 18 down the street without a permit, without a license. And so 21 was what was in the legislation as it came over from the House. I don't know exactly the bill author's intention. I think there are provisions in the license to carry law regarding military service, the ability to obtain a license prior to age 21. That is not in this legislation. So I guess someone that is younger than 21 would have to get a license to carry a handgun on their person for the purpose of self-defense in a holster. It's not perfect. We should maybe revisit that this next session.
We should have, yes. 18 years of age.
Discuss that further with you next year.
I'm glad Whitmire's on our team. I'm going to ask him to sponsor that bill next year.
Are you aware there are a large number of Texas families on both sides?
That's not the last question.
They're literally afraid of your legislation. I mean, it's
Senator, I'm aware this is
very genuine. They're afraid of the repercussions of your legislation.
Senator, I'm aware that there's always concern when you're dealing with a legislative piece that deals with firearms, handguns. that was similar to what happened with concealed carry, open carry, campus carry, and the travesties that were envisioned because of passage of those have not been shown to have occurred because of passage of those pieces of legislation. I think this is an advancement of safety, again, both for individuals, families, and society.
Well, obviously you do, and I know you're sincere, but they're sincere and they're fearful for their families. And I think we should be watchguards over their families and monitor this very carefully going forward.
I'm fearful for my family too. That's why I support this bill.
Discussion.
Senator Whitmire. Senator Lucio.
Purpose fear is more important. Oh gosh, we go from dumb to dumber.
Senator the author.
You yield for one question.
I yield. Thank you.
You can have two if you'd like.
Thank you.
They're on sale today.
I appreciate your generosity.
Buy one, get one free, whatever you want.
I like that. I really appreciate the way you laid your bill, laid it out, and want to make sure the public is safe. We worry about that when people get behind the wheel and they've been drinking, right? As it pertains to carrying a gun, what happens to someone who is driving while intoxicated, and after this bill is passed, he or she qualifies to have a gun, carry a gun without a license? Once they go to court, would that person lose their right to carry after the second DWI, first, second, or third? Because I'm not an attorney. I've never been in court, thank God, for DWI, but I know it's a very serious offense, and it could become a felony, I believe it says in the phone, in the cell phone here. And I guess that's determined by the judge. Can you tell us what happens to a person who is convicted with a DWI, driving while intoxicated in our public street? Does he or she lose their permit to carry a gun after that?
If it's a felony,
not permit, but the right.
Senator, the specific charge for which that individual would be charged in the court, if it is a felony and they are convicted, they would not be able to carry under this legislation.
So they would never be able to carry after that conviction, correct?
That is correct. And in fact, this bill goes further, and if they carry as a convicted felon, they would have enhanced sentencing of UCW, unlawful carry a weapon, from a third-degree felony to a second-degree felony.
And I understand that. You were very clear in that. I just want to make it clear to those seeing this debate and listening to this debate that is going to be very serious for those that really care to have that right to carry that gun, but after being convicted and being found that he becomes a felon after that second conviction, I guess, goes to prison after the third, he will never be able, or she will never be able to have the right to carry a gun, correct?
That is correct. Driving while intoxicated and obviously felony conviction and then carrying are very serious offenses that the state of Texas does not tolerate.
That's exactly right, and I support that, obviously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Hinojosa, what purpose?
Senator Yield.
You yield?
I yield, Senator.
Senator Schwartner,
From dumb to dumber to dumbest.
That came back from the Conference Committee report didn't really change too much in substance dealing with constitutional carry.
I'd agree with that. The 8 amendments that were placed by the Senate on the floor and thoroughly discussed were kept in large part with fairly small changes overall.
I know we had a long debate when we first debated the bill here on the Senate floor, but I I will express my concerns and then frame them in a question, and that is, I really think that we're placing our police in higher danger and risking their lives when they have to stop someone on reasonable suspicion and make split-second decisions whether or not that person is a felon or whether or not that person is a danger to the officer. Don't you agree with that?
I think police officers always have to make split-second decisions. Unfortunately, that is their line of their work, and they have sworn an oath to defend and protect, and it is that is applicable whether or not that individual carrying a handgun or a long gun has a license or doesn't have a license. So they will have to use their judgment, as they always do, in the proper enforcement and protection of people.
Well, don't you think the difference is here we're allowing open carry so that a person can carry a gun out in the open? Well, right now that is not the case because there's a background check on those that have a license.
That's correct. So you cannot open carry a handgun. You can certainly open carry a long gun. Well, you can open carry with a license, of course, or in a concealed manner in a holster. This bill, the whole intent and purpose of it is to remove the licensing requirement and allow the full restoration of our Second Amendment rights, just as we have with long guns, to carry a handgun in a holster on your person for self-defense.
But we're not talking about long guns here. We're talking about handguns.
Yes, sir.
That's a focus. So, under present law, you have to go through a background check to get a license to carry a handgun.
You currently under Texas law to carry a handgun and obtain a license to carry a handgun, you do have to go through a process that includes a background check. There's also a requirement for when you purchase a firearm at a firearm dealer.
Correct. But as you well know, there are many ways to get around having to go through a background check. You can buy guns through in gun shows, for example, or person to person, or straw buys. So it really makes it much more difficult for a law enforcement officer out on the street to be able to figure out whether that person really has a criminal background, or whether that person really is out to commit a crime, or whether that person really had a background criminal check.
Again, just by looking at someone, you cannot tell if they have a criminal background. Whether that doesn't, license is not something that you can just take out and show that police officer. That police officer will have to make decisions, as they currently do, when confronted with any situation. I think this actually makes when you have more individuals, and I forgot the exact number, but there are over 1.6 million individuals that have a license to carry currently in Texas. If there are more individuals that are law-abiding and carrying a handgun for the purpose of self-defense in a holster on their person, I think it makes law enforcement safer, and I think it puts the criminal in harm's way. So I think it is an advancement of public safety, an advancement of individual safety.
Well, I'm not going to be repetitive because we already went through what is a law-abiding citizen, what does a person look like. It's really not easy to define by just looking at a person. And one last question.
Yes, sir.
And one of my concerns is, I guess I worry about mom and dad being at Pizza Hut, having a pizza, and dad maybe drinking cold beer, and all of a sudden you have someone walk in there with a big old handgun on the side. What do you say about that?
Walk into the
Pizza Hut.
Well, Pizza Hut had a 30-05 sign. They would not be allowed to do so. So there is that aspect of a private business. But if they do not, that individual can walk in, as they can with a long gun, into that establishment, and just by possession of a firearm, they would not be violating any law.
So, and so just to clarify, so for example, HB could have a sign saying that you cannot carry a handgun?
Yes, sir. Yes, that's maintained.
Thank you, Senator Schwartz.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Schwertner moves the adoption of the conference committee report on House Bill 1927. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Buckingham, Campbell, Creighton, Eckhart, Gutierrez, all.
17 ayes, 13 nays. The conference committee report on House Bill 27 is adopted. Thank you, Senator, for your work on that.
Thank you, Senators. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, who was the Republican that just voted against it? There was just a I bet you it was Huffman. It was either Huffman or it was freaking up north somewhere. Starts with a Z.
I have your attention a moment. We talked about doing a dinner break sometime around 7, but I have 2 committees, State Affairs.
I am going to find out who that Republican is.
Minutes to pass out a few remaining bills. So, Senator Whitmire?
I would move a recess for 15 minutes.
Hold on, I need to suspend the rules first, okay? I was looking for Senator Hughes.
They're done with 1927. It just passed. It just passed, folks. It now goes to the governor for signature.
On, I got to change.
Senator Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. President. I need to make a move to suspend the Senate's posting requirements so the Senate Committee on Education can meet at.
I want to know who that Republican is, though.
In 2E9, that's the press room.
I'm looking right now to see who it might have been.
Thank you, Senator.
But I bet you.
Any objection? Hearing none?
It was either Steliger or Huffman. Steliger or Huffman voted against
to suspend
unlicensed carry.
10, 11,
I
18,
guarantee it.
To allow the Senate Committee on State Affairs to meet in the Betty King Room upon adjournment to consider House Bill 1535.
We can probably shut that off there.
Recess, not adjournment. Thank you, Senator. Upon recess.
Anyway, all right, Jim. Well, good job, brother. It's been what, 7, 8 years coming?
Does that mean they
to get to this point?
Does that just mean that they accepted the committee stuff, or I'm just like, what?
Yeah, that means that they've accepted the committee report and it's now passed. It's passed the House already. It's passed the Senate now. Now it goes to the governor. It's done. That's it.
Cool.
All that's left is for the governor to sign it or not sign it. He doesn't even have to sign it. He can just let it go and it'll just automatically become law.
These people.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate everyone. CJ, if you want to hop off, I'm going to say some final words.
I will. Take care.
All right, man. We'll talk to you. Well, everyone, I appreciate you guys standing by. I know it got a little dragged out at a few points. Sorry I made you listen to some of these idiots talk. Man, we knew there was going to be some objections, and of course, the Rhino said their usual stupidity. But we made it through. 1927 has passed, both the House and the Senate. It's going to be sent over to the governor, from what I'm told, tomorrow. It's supposed to be signed either Wednesday or Thursday. Now, do remember, this does not go into effect until September 1st. So I will be making a video tomorrow, because it's a little bit later today, breaking down everything this bill covers for people who missed it. Kind of the ins and outs of it. CJ has one over in the Open Carry Texas channel. If you got about an hour and a half, he goes into the really fine details and covers a lot of stuff. So if you want to spend some time, look at his channel. I'm going to be making about a 15 to 20 minute video later tonight, tomorrow morning for editing. So I can put that out for a more condensed version of everything 1927 covers. And I appreciate everyone standing by. I appreciate everyone who gave me the super chats earlier. First time I ever got them, so cool for that. If you guys got any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them, and I'll go through them a little while, because right now I got to go stand up for a bit because my butt fell asleep. I appreciate everyone being by, and y'all have a great evening. Congratulations.